Hey everybody, happy March 23rd. Welcome to the Wise Guys, the largest BYU sports live stream show in the whole world and the most watched collegiate sports live stream talk show on YouTube. And last we checked, YouTube's pretty big.
You know what? I'm glad you said in the world, because the very first person on the chat is Heber City David, and he's signing in from Singapore today.
Speaking of spanning the globe.
And he says he'll be there for the next month. So we'll have Singapore in the house for the next month. But how about that? The very first person is an international one. And then we got Salt Lake City already in the house. Leander, Texas. And I like how they say howdy, because you heard a lot of howdy when you're on your mission down in Texas.
They're very friendly folks down there.
West Valley City's already in the house. Orem, as always, in the house. They said they saw the family saw AJ and Moo at the Lindem.
Linden Temple open house, Linden, Utah. Your Bear was over there the other night.
Yeah,
it's the place to check out. Everyone can go.
Liberty, Missouri says 99.9% chance AJ goes. What are the chances Rob Wright Thursdays? And we'll talk about that. Will Nate Dawson get one, or will Nate and Dawson get one more season? Yeah, Nate. They both are. They've already been. Nate has another season, and Dawson has already been approved for another season. So, yeah, the answer to that is yes. Whether Rob comes back or not, we don't know.
Whether Dawson comes back, I mean, he blew out his knee big time.
Depends on how healthy he gets.
Yeah, he might just retire.
And Rob did say, and I quote Rob himself, if I am in college basketball, I'll be wearing a BYU uniform.
Yeah, so, that one's, you know what? I was a little surprised to hear that. Yeah. I was happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's great.
I was like, okay, all right, let's see.
All of you in the chat, we're already answering questions from all over the world in the chat. We want to remind you that Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus and by Mountain America Credit Union, and Wise Guys is distributed by the Deseret News. Watch for this week's new podcast tomorrow, wherever you get your podcasts.
And we invite you to subscribe to our free email at wiseguys.com. You can also watch all our past content right there, and would love it if you'd hit the free subscribe button on our YouTube channel. So the show's growing, and it's awesome. We'd like to grow it further, so we're going to ask you for some help to get your friends to hop on there and join us. Sign up for the free stuff.
Yeah.
Click on the subscribe button on YouTube and just help us grow that number, which is to YouTube, that's a sign of strength.
That's right. Absolutely.
Hey, how many you got subscribing? Whoa. Okay. Yeah. We'll get that algorithm into other people's algorithms.
That's right. It keeps growing, and we want it to keep growing even more. So
we have an awesome show tonight. I mean, it's here we are. That we're bummed that we're out of the big dance, but our show tonight is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Hey, the women's basketball team is still in the little dance.
Yeah, they're dancing tonight.
That's right.
Later tonight.
That's right. So men are out, but we're going to talk about BYU basketball's early exit from the big dance, and look forward to next year. Talk about the roster and who's going to be on there. We'll review. And we'll take a look forward.
Yeah, and that's the buzz. So what's going to happen? What do you think? Who's going to be back? So we'll talk about that. We'll have our spring practice report from BYU football. Some really good stuff. Everyone's loving how Bear Bachmeier is playing.
Yeah, he's looking good. And I had a good visit with Kalani on Friday. So I'll give you an insight on somebody that we talked about with Kelly Papinga, but he raved about him. So we'll fill you in on that, on what Kalani had to say. Our Relight Athlete of the Week, as we always do every week, we'll name it. Harvey Scott from Redmond will share the secret in the salt. We keep telling you the secret's in the salt.
Secret's in the salt.
So we're going to explain what the secret in the salt is. And I'm going to fill people in on, because we know that there's a bunch of BYU athletes that are involved with Relight and with Redmond.
Yeah.
I just found out there's a big Broadway star that's sponsored by but that does Relight and is affiliated with Relight.
Okay.
So we're gonna ask Harvey about that later.
BYU grad Brandon Luke of BYU Pathway Worldwide is going to be with us, and he'll explain how teaching English is connecting people to a better life and how you can help in your own neighborhood. So you know what we like to do on Wise Guys is we like to celebrate life. Everything's connected to BYU on this show in some form or another, and then we all like to do stuff.
That's right.
Right? How can we make the world a better place? And so Brandon's going to have a couple of ideas, and so we'll talk about that tonight.
Good stuff. BYU grad Travis Kimball joins us live from San Diego, where Quick Quack Car Wash is making history tonight down in San Diego.
That's going to be our first live remote.
Yep.
In the history of Wise Guys. He'll be in San Diego at his car wash. He's going to join us in just a few minutes. And gymnastics is packing their bags for the NCAA championships. This is not, hey, you're in the play-in day. This is, you're in the show. And we'll tell you where they're going and who they'll compete against. And so an exciting day. Anytime there's a I was watching it on, I think, ESPNU. Anytime there's a selection show and you're sitting around and then you see your name on the board and everyone just jumps up and down because tournaments are fun. They're fun to be in.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to go, but you work hard all season, and all of a sudden your name pops up and you're like, we're in.
Yeah, and Guard Young's done a really nice job with that gymnastics program. They've just gotten better every year the last couple of years, and they're in the dance. It's just huge how well they've been doing.
Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, also dispensers, along with service and repairs with over 150 distribution facilities across the country, over 6,000 employees, and they are growing, headed by Travis Brady, the president, and a BYU grad. Learn more at bradyplus.com.
And by Mountain America Credit Union, helping people achieve their financial dreams for over 80 years. Whether you're buying a home, planning for retirement, managing daily expenses, Mountain America has the tools, the technology, and guidance to help you succeed. There's a lot of information waiting for you at macu.com, MACU.com, right there.
Our Relight Athlete of the Week is presented by Redmond. The secret's in the salt. Learn what it can do for you at redmond.com. This will announce the winner in just a little bit. A no-brainer. However, then all of a sudden some things happened where it was like, well, what about this person? What about this person?
Right.
I'll tell you what, you've got to do some stuff to win the Relight Athlete of the Week.
Our Relight Athlete of the Week's been like elite every single week.
Yeah, it's like going to the Masters.
And the funny thing is, well, you just said it again, the secret's in the salt. Yeah, we're going to talk about what the secret is in the salt. We're going to talk about what that is.
And that's right over your right shoulder.
Yep.
See all that stuff right there?
Right over my right shoulder. Not yours.
There you go.
Right there. Ta-da.
There's all our Relight stuff.
And by the way, I took my Relight this morning. I went early this morning to get a good workout in, do some cardio. Did you feel good about it? Yeah, it made me feel good.
Awesome.
So
let's talk BYU basketball. We weren't excited about getting bounced from the big dance by Texas, 79-71. Finished the season 23-12. Yeah, that was a disappointment. Going into that game, remember last week on the show we talked about, somebody's got to do something other than AJ. And AJ had 35 points, and the others just
didn't do it.
There was no inside game. There was no rebounding. There was no shooting.
Texas's bigs, especially their big 7-footer, just dominated, especially in that first half. You know what? They also dominated Gonzaga.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Texas is really good. Everybody was saying it's the most underseeded team in the tournament. And people were saying that BYU was overseeded because of the injury to Richie Saunders. You have Richie Saunders, they were probably a 4, 5, or 6 seed. Without Richie, that left a huge void. And Texas had no business being an 11 seed. They're much better than that.
No, and they were 18-14 coming in. They had to win back on Tuesday in the first 4, and that game was close. Hit a shot with 1 second left to win that one.
Right.
But I think we saw, and we'll talk about it more a bit later when we go over the returners and all that stuff. But when they lost Richie against a team like Texas in a win or you're done game, you lost out on about 9 rebounds.
Oh, yeah.
You lost out on about 15 points, maybe more. Maybe he's hot. Maybe he's 20. You miss out on leadership when times get tough, and they got down by 17. And then you go over and look at Texas Tech, and they missed JT Toppin the same exact way.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
They weren't the same, and it got when the wheels came off. Only difference is Texas Tech didn't make it a game. Alabama just blew them out. But behind AJ, BYU came back at least and had some shots to still win that thing. But then the next night, there would have been Gonzaga 2 nights later, and it would have been the same problem.
Yeah.
Gonzaga's got a giant center.
Yeah.
So what's priority number 1? Well, that's coming up.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Hey, by the way, iRef Sports, I love that handle, by the way.
Nice.
At the Marriott Center going in to watch the BYU women's basketball game. So, man, you're going in early. You're going to watch warm-ups and everything because the game's not till 7. So glad you're there early. Lamont from Layton's in the house.
There's Rick from Fort Walton Beach, Kentucky. Or no, Fort Walton Beach, Florida. I believe where's it, North Carolina? It says, KY and the crew just need to stay the course, learn from this tough season, recruit studs, and develop the bench. The future is still as bright as ever.
I think he's in Fort Walton Beach. True. Rick, you're talking about Fort Walton Beach, Florida, we're assuming, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's true. And we'll dive into some of that in just a little bit because that's kind of what's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Is like, we're bummed, but where's it going?
And this basketball season, and you know what? I'll save it for when we talk about it. But injuries had a lot to do with it. Reminds me of the 5-7 football team a few years ago when they had their top 6 linebackers go down.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care who you are. Ohio State doesn't lose 1 through 6 linebackers and still go play, in this college football playoff. And you don't lose that many guys and still go to the Sweet 16. And I think we thought, well, AJ's so good.
He could just do it by himself.
He can do it. And if Rob plays great, the two of them. But it takes a lot more than that.
And Rob didn't play great against Texas. Nope. They had a good matchup for him, and AJ is now one of 3 BYU players to receive multiple first-team All-America honors. He joins Jimmer and Danny Ainge, AP first team, NABC and USBWA first team, and a finalist for Player of the Year, which hasn't been announced yet. You can't ask for much more than what he gave.
Yeah, AJ gave it all and was a tremendous representative off the court as well.
Yeah.
He just embraced the whole BYU culture and was not afraid to talk about how it was good for him and why he came. Yeah, I have nothing but praise for AJ and the way he carried himself and the way he played this whole year. And it's just a shame because he came to play with a bunch more guys that didn't get to play.
Yeah, so. and that's just life in sports.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're healthy, and sometimes you're not.
Yeah.
And if BYU lost Bear midseason, they wouldn't be 12-2.
Right.
Right. Because remember, they still lost LJ, and he came back, but they had Bear the whole time.
Yeah.
Because Bear was the Richie Saunders of the football team. So when that guy goes out, and yet the guys all come back out in the same uniforms, they look the same. We should still beat them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you just can't, and you don't. And you're bummed, and it sounds like an excuse, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact of life. It's a fact of sports. So more basketball coming up. Let's dive into football for just a moment before we go to San Diego live with Travis Brady. Spring practice, Aaron Roderick praising Bear Bachmeier's leadership, and he didn't hold anything back. Said that ball's coming out fast, and he looks like he didn't go so far as to say I've got a senior and a sophomore's body per se, but he kind of does. Yeah. He's got a guy who's been there and now done that before.
It is a huge difference when you have a quarterback. And what I think we sometimes forget is that he wasn't here last spring ball. It wasn't like he came in January. Remember, he went to Stanford in January and had spring ball at Stanford, learned their offense, and basically has worked his way into the starting job as a true freshman over there. Coaching staff changes after spring ball, comes to BYU in the middle of the summer, has to learn a whole new offense. I thought that A-Rod did a fantastic job of tailoring it to him early and giving him a little bit more each game. But what he did last year was really surprising when you think about the prep that he had. Well, now he played a whole season, stayed relatively healthy that whole season, got dinged up and banged up a little bit at the end as much as they were running him. Now he's had the offseason to get stronger and to learn the offense even more and to be in the film room, and now he's in the middle of spring ball and he's going to have all summer. Exactly what A-Rod is describing is what I would expect that he would do with the skill set that he has. He's going to understand defenses better. He's going to understand the offense better. He's going to get off of his first read quicker and get it to the 2 and to 3 reads, which is going to make him more accurate because the ball's coming up on time and in rhythm. So I expect him to take a monster step forward this year in this offense. I think A-Rod's going to be able to do a lot more with this offense. And let's add a couple of big-time tight ends. Carson Ryan is an NFL-type guy. I think he's going to get a shot. He had good numbers in Pro Day the other day. And he was very productive. But now you got 2 guys just like him.
Yeah, I remember when Bear got the job, remember last year in fall camp, it wasn't Bear got the job because he's awesome. It was Bear got the job. Were the backups that bad? Did they not know the offense? They had 2 years in the offense, whether it was Hillstead or Bourget or any of them. And so that was the kind of a thing is how does a kid just show up and win the job? Well, then he went 12-2. That's what a kid that can do that job does.
And you remember what A-Rod said? He said, listen, at some point, he says, I didn't want to play a true freshman. And then I realized that in 8 days, this kid was mastering the offense as well as guys that have been here for more than a year. And he goes, and it's nothing against the guys that have been here for more than a year, because they were doing fine. And Trayson Bourget was playing good. The BYU could have won a lot of games with Trayson. And McKay was playing well too, right? Am I thinking? Yeah. And they were both competing, and BYU would have been okay. But he was so quick at mastering this offense, and he was so skilled that A-Rod just said, man, if he's come this far this quick, I got to just let him have it and see what he does.
And an okay team gets to a bowl game. A great team gets to the Big 12
championship game. Yep.
Yeah. Today is World Bear Day. I saw that when I woke up. I thought, hey, congratulations, Bear. You know, and all bears everywhere. Today is World Bear Day. And it does feel like, to me, that Bear is flying way below the Big 12 and national radar, even after going 12-2. And that's good for him. That's good for BYU. It's motivating, but it's a little bit surprising. I mean, you've almost beat everybody you played, and then all of a sudden you're like fifth on the Big 12 quarterback list.
It's interesting that the way they lost to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game, just kind of, I mean, I thought they played great in their bowl game, right?
Yeah, on one foot.
But it was almost like all of the national folks just went, oh, yeah, they got killed by Texas Tech, and they just forgot about how good he was.
Yeah.
And they'll remember, a few games in, they'll remember how good he was. So,
and they forgot, the first drive they drove, 90 yards, scored a touchdown, but on the touchdown or the play before it, he sprained his ankle.
And it eliminated his ability to run.
Immobilized.
Yep.
But he's running around practice like, like a free bear.
Hey, Sylvia says she's not going to give up on AJ coming back. So, Sylvia, I'm glad you're not a quitter.
Let's go to the finish line.
It's just like until he's gone, he's not gone. So
it's easy to say he's not coming back because everyone will support you, including Charles Barkley. The only person that yet has announced to announce that he's leaving is AJ himself.
That's right. That's right.
So, you know.
Hey, and IREF Sports does clarify. He goes, yes, I'm here for the pregame, and you got to be there just like you have to be at church before the opening prayer. So I respect that, IREF.
That's a good attitude.
Edgemont's in the house, says thanks for being on. So there you go.
Alumni Game is coming up Friday, April 3rd at 6 p.m. at LaVell Edwards Stadium. That's the last organized football that fans will be able to come in and watch as organized, using that word loosely, for an alumni game. But and then it's on to September 5th when Utah Tech rolls out there to play BYU. So we'll have more information on that next week.
Yeah, we should get some more. Have you heard anything more on that? We're talking about this on the air.
Nothing. Not our plan yet.
Typically, Dave and I broadcast that game, but we don't know what the plan is for that alumni game yet.
Justin Enna will be on the show next week too, and we'll talk about the special teams, but also the special event that is the alumni game.
Hey, ESPN lists linebacker Cade Uluave as one of the Big 12's top newcomers.
Yeah, I saw that. It's impressive.
Yeah, he's coming from Cal, remember, where he was very, very productive. 6'1", 230-pound guy. Mountain Ridge High School in Harriman. So he's a Utah kid that signed out of state. 97 tackles for the Cal Bears this last season. So extremely productive. Remember when Kelly Papinga was here sitting in this seat last week, said he's the real deal. He's played really well. He's been one of the most impressive folks.
Number one linebacker in the transfer portal.
Yep.
By everyone's ratings.
Well, when you're losing a guy like Jack Kelly, you think, man, how are you going to replace a guy that good? Uluave is just the kind of guy that brings some hope for that position. And then also, and this is what I was going to tell you, I was talking to Kalani at Pro Day, and he came on set with us, and we talked for a long time. And he also mentioned Uluave. But do you remember we talked about Jake Clifton?
From Kansas State?
Yeah. Kalani brought him up, and he goes, and wait till you see Jake Clifton. He goes, I don't know what mission he served, but I think it was the mission of his mission president must have been owned a gym or something. He goes, he says, I've never seen a kid more ready to play coming back from his mission. He goes, I'm not questioning it. He says, he just looks phenomenal. And he goes, anytime you can get starting linebackers from other Power 4 programs that were very productive. And he said, Jake was very productive as a freshman, and his future is bright. He goes, he can't believe how physical and how good his football IQ is, having 1 year under his belt at Kansas State. So there's two linebackers that transferred in that are going to have a huge impact. And Kelly mentioned both of them. Kalani mentioned both of them. Kalani brought him up proactively. And then Kalani also talked about Saliapaga and Lyons, the two tight ends. says they're really making their mark in spring ball. And how nice is that going to be to have those guys on defense, but on the offensive side, where if you could go with 2 tight end sets and create mismatches, like how are you going to cover those guys when they're out there at the same time?
Yeah.
Think about having 2 Carson Ryans out there at the same time.
1 LJ Martin.
And an LJ Martin.
And a Bear.
And Bear. How are you going to defend that? And now if BYU...
And JoJo Phillips, who's had a great spring.
JoJo, who's really stepped it up after coming back from an injury last year. Things look good, especially on that offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so, the line looks big on offense. TJ Woods loves his group.
Yep.
And, hey, that's what a Big 12 team is, big and deep.
That's right.
And now BYU's big and deep. While all the basketball was going on, there was a rule change that snuck through. I thought it was interesting. And it has to do with the targeting penalty, which often boots a kid out of the game, and then you don't see him for a half of the next game. And so, down the stretch, that can be a costly penalty. So the NCAA decided to do this. They've changed the targeting penalty for next season. A player ejected for targeting for the first time in a season can play in the next game. Still gets kicked out of the game he's in. A player ejected for a second targeting offense will miss the first half of the next game, and then a third targeting ejection warrants a full game suspension. So if you're a troublemaker, you're going to miss some time.
Right.
But if you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, like most targeting penalties are, you don't have to miss the first half of the next game.
Which I don't like players tackling with their head and all that, but there's just too many calls where a person's not really launching themselves. They end up in a bad spot. Their head's in the wrong position. They go head-to-head contact, and now they're targeting. They're kicked out of the game. We've seen that impact the outcome of a game. And I like the NFL's rule. They just call unnecessary roughness as a 15-yard penalty. Then they review film. And if it's egregious or it looks like it was, that there was intent there to hurt somebody or they launched themselves, well, in the NFL, they fine them and they suspend them, right? But I've always felt it was a little too punitive to kick the person out and make them miss a half of.
Yeah, getting the team hurts the team, hurts everything.
Yeah, and so it's had impact on games. It's too severe for a lot of these targeting penalties where they're not the kind where we go, ooh, like what was he thinking? He just launched himself into his face, No, they're like coming across the field and they have a collision. They happen to hit the top of heads. Mm-hmm. And by rule, it's targeting. That kid's kicked out. I've never loved that rule. So I like this one at least gets him back the next week if it's that type of a penalty.
Randy on the stream says, Kelly Poppinga brought half the football team to a sick kid in the hospital. He has my respect forever.
Very good. Very good.
That's cool.
Isn't that what BYU sports is all about anyhow, right there?
It is. Lifting up folks. Lifting up folks and brightening their day, and they do a good job about that. Here's an interesting note about Kyle Whittingham that surfaced over the last week. As we expected, the reports coming that the former BYU Cougar wanted to return to Utah for another season as the head coach, but athletic director Mark Harlan wanted him out and wanted Morgan Scally in, so he pushed Whittingham out, paid him off, and so those were the kind of the things that had come out. It's like, well, you know what? Kyle's agent is on record saying, we want to come back, and you're the winningest coach in the history of the University of Utah, and you got somebody going, I think we're done with you. Now, karma's a weird thing. And so moving forward, we're not surprised by it. At the time, it was rolled out like, no, we just all love each other, and everyone just parted happily. That's not the case.
And there's still behind-the-scenes discussions on, okay, there were supposed to be some things with the payout. You weren't allowed to coach, and then they're going, well, wait a minute here. That only said I couldn't coach in the state of Utah.
Yeah.
That didn't say I couldn't take the Michigan game. So all kinds of going at each other for, the very specific parts of what all of that meant. And let's just say there's not a lot of goodwill being created between the two parties right now.
No, and it's weird how sometimes legends get run off, and then you have to be careful with what you ran him off for. And so the pressure's on Morgan Scally, right? And they're underway with their drills. But for BYU's just a bystander in this whole thing, just kind of watching. And they lost, Jay Hill and Gennaro Guilford. But, I don't know what it means for November, 7th, when BYU goes up there to Utah? Probably nothing outside of the fact that the Utah fans have to be a little nervous that they ran Whittingham off, and so this is what they got, and this better work.
Yeah, and And Kyle brought a number of coaches. It seems like the entire offensive staff. I know it's not, but it seems like
it almost was.
It was almost the whole offensive staff. And then, of course, like as you mentioned, he took Jay with him. He also took Gennaro, and he also took Eddie Heckard. And so BYU was not nearly affected by this as much as people thought they would. There were people at first say this could affect BYU more than Utah. Mm-hmm. Well, it certainly didn't. And no BYU players opted to go, and multiple Utah players opted to head to Michigan. And so had a huge impact on Utah. Had some impact on BYU because BYU now without Jay Hill, without Gennaro, and then Eddie was a late addition to Michigan. You had Gavin, who had already gone to Weber State. And so basically BYU has a completely new secondary coach. There's not a single person from the back end that's at BYU now. So it did have some impact on BYU, but not the impact that it had on Utah, especially
not the animosity part, right?
That they gutted the offense.
Yeah.
So
and BYU fans don't think ill will of Jay Hill or Gennaro. No. They're like, okay, we get it, but that's not the other way. Hey, speaking of coaches, Utah State lost their basketball coach today.
Yes.
Jared Calhoun's going to Cincinnati. And then St. Mary's Randy Bennett signed on with Arizona State. Someone finally got him out of Moraga.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, Randy's from that valley down in Arizona. And so it's kind of going back home. But
hey, the Big 12 just got 2 new coaches that are pretty good.
Yeah, really good coaches, man. And it doesn't get any easier in this league.
So that went down today, and there'll be other coaching moves. We'll keep you posted on that. Our first guest tonight joins us live on an historic night in San Diego, the night where Quick Quack Car Wash makes its Southern California debut. BYU grad Travis Kimball is the Chief Experience Officer, co-founder of Quick Quack Car Wash, proud sponsor of the Wise Guys. We say hello from San Diego. I already know it's sunny and warm, but you look cool in the shades. How's it going down there?
It's going awesome. It's and hopefully you can hear me okay. There's a little bit of ocean breeze, which is beautiful as well. But yeah, we are here kicking off our very first San Diego area location, and everything's going perfectly. We've got a family over here in my background that we're doing a fundraiser for their 18-month-old daughter that has leukemia. And so the community is turning out. We got cars lined up coming through, giving donations, and it's a beautiful thing.
Man, that is like each time you open a new location, you hold a fundraiser for a family. We know that that's part of what you do and how you give back to these communities. And so tell us just a little bit more about this family. And this is really cool. They're from that area right around where you're opening that car wash, and local folks are supporting them already, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a nomination process that we go through. We put up on our website, allow the community to kind of nominate some families. It's always hard if we have to actually choose from a few. So, in this case, it was even more kind of special to us because the nomination came from one of our regional leaders. So a team member here in Southern California, it's his cousin's, his wife's cousin. Sorry, make sure I say that right. But his wife's cousin's daughter that has the baby with leukemia. They have 2 kids, also a 4-year-old, and so that was pretty special. They nominated them, and we're able to do this fundraiser tonight, and it's going great.
And then the way it works is folks can go and get a free car wash for what, the next week, and then they're just asked to donate, and all that money will go to that family.
Yeah, the fundraiser's tonight only. The grand opening we do have where we just do free car washes for 12 days, but that's separate from the fundraiser. Okay. So the fundraiser is just the one day. And then tomorrow, during our ribbon cutting, we'll have a special check presentation that we'll do for them as well. We actually have 2 openings in Southern California today, but I'm at this one in San Diego. The other one's in Moreno Valley. And as you know, we're growing, and this is exciting for us.
Hey, one thing we know is there are thousands of BYU fans in Southern California that can now come support a business that supports their Cougars.
Yeah, and I'm learning San Diego market because it's brand new for us, but this one's by San Diego State, so we know that school pretty well. having been with them in the conference in the past, but with BYU. The others are in Chula Vista coming up, and Lemon Grove are the upcoming ones. So if we have BYU fans around those parts, we look forward to seeing you at our next grand openings.
Hey, how significant is this night? Your 2 openings. These are the first in Southern California, and now you mentioned the other 2. To expand this business to the Southern California marketplace has got to be a big milestone for your business.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And San Diego's the new part of SoCal that we're in. We've been in SoCal for a few years already, mostly in the Inland Empire. Some of these markets are tougher to crack into than others, as you can imagine, with being a little more expensive. We're still not in Orange County, but we're working our way into LA and some other places in Southern California. But the Inland Empire, we have lots of locations. Also the Palm Springs, Coachella Valley, we have lots of locations. But being this in this part, San Diego, I tried to go to the temple today, but it was closed for renovations. Just my luck. But it'll be here the next time I come down.
Yeah, you're there now. Now you've put down roots with Quick Quack there. Hey, you were. Let's ask you one last question because it's a busy night for you. You were with the Cougars over in Portland. What did you think about that? And where does this program go from here? From a big basketball fan that you are.
Yeah, I was doing a grand opening actually in Yakima, Washington, and I had that one scheduled long before we knew they were going to be playing in Portland. When I found out they were going to be in Portland, I took a 3-hour drive. It's a beautiful part of the country to take a drive, and it's always a good environment, good atmosphere. BYU fans absolutely turned up, so that part was fun. But then obviously we know what happened, and AJ did his part, and we just fell short. And I think we've got a bright, optimistic future. This one stings because we felt like, there was some potential there that maybe we didn't live up to. I have a little bit of a feeling like we kind of, it's hard. I mean, I don't play a role, obviously, but it feels like we all collectively kind of let AJ down a little bit. Like it could have been more special, but he doesn't give any of that off, right? He just gives off that he has loved his time here and that he he's going to be part of the BYU family forever. So that's super special, and that'll always be great. But the future is bright. Love Kevin Young. Think he's absolutely the right man. We've got lots of pieces to put together for next year, and it's good stuff.
Well, congratulations on San Diego, and the Quick Quack Car Wash is right by San Diego State. Again, you got a lot of things going on, so we're glad to have you on live on the Wise Guys.
It's our first live report ever.
Yeah, nice job. I thought you nailed that.
Nice.
That's great.
Live from San Diego.
Yeah, we love it.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks, everybody.
You got it. Best of luck. Quick Quack Car Wash, proud supporter of BYU Athletics and of the Wise Guys, and they always say, hey, don't drive dirty.
That's right. That's the theme. I didn't realize they were all big over in the Inland Empire. So they haven't moved out on the coast there to San Diego and the beach towns.
Yeah.
And they are now Orange County is saying maybe that's eventually those are expensive places to operate, right?
Yeah, but everyone needs car wash.
You got to do that.
Everyone
Don't
needs
drive
a car
dirty.
wash. All right, here comes the Relight Athlete of the Week presented by Redmond, the secrets in the salt. Learn what it can do for you at redmond.com. Our pleasure to announce, maybe for the last time, AJ Dybantsa as the Relight Athlete of the Week. Tell us what he's done.
Well, during the first round loss to Texas in his final game as a BYU Cougar, as far as we know, right?
Right, as far as we know.
He keeps hinting that he's could come back. I think he's just teasing us. He had 35 points in that game. Too bad we couldn't get him any help in that one. He made all 12 of his free throws, grabbed 10 boards, and played an entire game, 40 minutes. He finishes with a double-double. He wasn't perfect, but he left it all out on the court, I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. Just like Jimmer Fredette did, like Danny Ainge did.
Their last games, you got everything out of them.
Those are BYU's 3 first-team All-Americans. Yeah. And he did just like they did in the way he played and left it all out there. With 894 points, Dybantsa moves into second all-time at BYU for points in a single season, right behind Jimmer Fredette. Second
all-time. They've been playing since 1902.
Yeah. And how about the fact that he's also the number 3 in NCAA history for scoring as a freshman?
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. And
when you drop 35 in the big dance on Texas, you're going places.
Yeah, so he never had a game where he wasn't in double figures as a Cougar, so all 35 of his games. And he finished out 14 straight games, 20-plus points to finish out the season. Just an incredible. He'll be announcing his future in the next couple of weeks what he's going to do, what his plans are. After a long talk with his mom and dad. But really, I think he made it pretty clear it was a long talk with his mom, because he asked, "What about your dad?" And he goes, "Yeah, my dad does what my mom says too, just like I do." So
he sat in this chair.
He respects his mom.
He sat in this chair right next to you and said, "I never said I was a one and done." Yeah. And then Ace and Chelsea sat in those two chairs and said, "Hey, we'll just see what happens." Everyone expects him to go number one. We'll talk about the projections for AJ in just a little bit. But again, until he says I'm going, he hasn't gone yet. And he did say in the post game that he already has his fall schedule classes worked out with the academic advisor just in case.
He's a planner. And I'm going to tell you, I do not doubt that he will finish his education at BYU.
Right, for sure.
Because Chelsea has said that he's going to, and frankly, he does what his mom says. And Chelsea's given him a lot of good advice over his lifetime. So I think he will be back in Provo. I think he will finish his degree at BYU. Even if he's a multi-year NBA All-Star and Hall of Famer, I think he'll finish at BYU with a degree. And his, then he can retire his number, all those things that you do. You put him in the Hall of Fame. So AJ Dybantsa is our Relight Athlete of the Week. The secret is in the salt. Learn what it can do for you at Redmond.com. And click on the link in the chat and show notes for a discount code giving you 15% off of Redmond products. So I did that. I used it. That's how I got mine. I got 15%
That's how we roll. Our pleasure to welcome back to the Wise Guys, Harvey Scott, a Cornell grad, a BYU fan, the Chief Development Officer for Redmond. We welcome you back to the Wise Guys. How are you tonight?
So good, guys. How you doing?
It's good having you here. It's always good to have you. You bring a cool vibe to the show.
Oh, do I?
Yeah. Tell your kids that you brought a cool vibe to the show.
You're a Cornell guy. We talked about this last time here, but Cornell's like close to where I grew up. Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't.
I'm from Elmira in upstate New York.
I know it well.
So I used to ride my bike up to Ithaca because the stake president's daughter was really cute. They lived in Ithaca.
It's amazing what you do.
Yeah, I rode a bike. It's about a 20-mile ride from Elmira to Ithaca.
We know those spaces super well.
Yeah. But we played the Ithaca High School, Little Red. Cornell's a Big Red. They were in our league. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Harvey, what did you think of AJ's season as we watched it all?
Are there words? I mean, the guy he is a generational talent, so we're lucky we had him for a year. I'm not a betting man, but my guess is he's going pro. So
feels like it.
I mean, how many chances do you get?
Yeah. And it's not about what he makes next year, because it's a lot, but you got to get to your second contract, because the rookie contracts are structured and they're all, depending on what you're picked, they're set in stone. But then you get to that second contract.
TV revenue's going up.
And so you put it off a year, you put that 3 years from now off another year. And
that's going to be $400 million.
Yeah, that's why you don't put it off.
You never know what happens in the NBA either. Everything, it's fluid. So it might be that he stays a year and then rookie contracts change in the NBA. You just don't know, right? So I don't know. I don't know what you do. If I'm AJ, I don't know what I'm doing, but I think I'm going pro.
How about this? If you're AJ's parents, what are you telling him to do?
Going pro.
Yeah.
Tell him to go.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite AJ play from this year that you enjoyed the most?
Honestly, I think, do you remember the pass that, I can't remember if it was Richie or if it was Rob, but somebody gave him a pass over the top of the basket, and he was coming down. It was like away from the rock.
Yeah.
Coming down towards the other way. And it was maybe the biggest dunk I've ever seen at BYU.
He grab it from behind. He grabbed it from behind. Threw it down.
Yeah.
And was on Sports Center over and over.
It was amazing.
Who was that against? Against TCU or somebody like
remember.
that?
He had a throwback dunk where one came off the back of the rim, and he kind of reached back and grabbed it and then threw it down. That was ridiculous as well. He had many ridiculous plays.
It's just amazing. Just an amazing athlete, amazing young man. We're lucky to have him in Provo.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is here's this superstar, and that's what he is. But he'd make a big play and have a good time. But he was just as excited when his teammates made a big play. Yeah. A Diamande dunk or Kaba doing something, or when Richie was flying high, and he's the biggest fan. And you play hard for those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean it was if we didn't have such attrition on the injury side, I think we could have gone pretty deep.
Yeah.
When you've got a nucleus like a Richie Saunders and a Rob Wright and an AJ, and they're all cheering for each other, and there's good team dynamics, you go pretty deep. When you lose 6 of your 15 players, and 4 in the top rotation. What do you do?
Yeah, it's and people forget, like Richie, everybody remembers because it was recency, and he obviously is the biggest loss because of first team All Big 12 last year and would have been again this year, and just a cornerstone of the team. Dawson Baker's loss really hurt because Dawson Baker's a guy that you have to make a decision. Do I leave this guy for a minute to go help on Rob or Richie or AJ? Because if I leave him and they kick the ball to him, he's going to knock down a 3.
And he can penetrate.
Yeah. And if I rush out
everywhere, yeah.
If I leave him and I'm too far away and I rush out and I don't close out under control, he just puts the ball on the floor, takes it in, and he has all kinds of floaters, or he kicks it to somebody else for an open 3. Like, to me, he was the biggest early loss. And I think if they had him and Richie all season long, this absolutely was an Elite 8 team, maybe a Final 4 team.
Yeah, think about Nate Pickens, who's a distributing point guard.
Right.
Not a shooting point guard, but a point guard to get the ball in all the right spots to the right people. And they didn't even have him. He got hurt in camp and was out for the year. And that was going to be the back. AJ wouldn't be playing point.
Yeah.
Right. It always stayed down there waiting for the ball.
Well, Rob and AJ playing 38 to 40 minutes every game down the stretch. Yeah. That's like, we just mentioned AJ played 40 minutes in this Texas game. They've had to do that, especially since Richie's injury. They had to keep him out on the floor. Hardly came out. Let's talk about this a little bit. That takes a lot out of a person to play 40 minutes in a basketball game, run up and down that floor. Relight's a tool that athletes use, especially the runners on the BYU track team, including 2-time national champion Jane Hedengren. She was announced today as the National Women's Athlete of the Year.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what does Relight do? Like, why is the track team so all in? Diljit all in? Why are these athletes so all in? I'm all in. I take it with me in a shaker bottle to go do my cardio and workout every day when I go work out.
You know why people are in? Because it works.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like I'll tell a personal story. My wife had back surgery about 1.5 years ago. Yeah. I love her to death. She's amazing. She's a super athlete, just an amazing woman. And she has 2 servings of Relight every day. She went down to St. George's last weekend and was biking and hiking and all this stuff. And when she was finished, actually she called me like day 1. She's like, Harvey, I forgot all my Relight. I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, just go to Harmon's and buy Relight at Harmon's because it's there.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, we're not near Harmon's, so I'm just going to try to make it work. So she gets in the car on the way home and something happens to her back. And she's like, I can't even walk. And I say to her, I said, I think you're dehydrated. I remember talking to a friend who's a physical therapist, and he said one of the first things to go when you're dehydrated is you have back pain. Because what happens is your discs compress because there's not fluid in them to keep them hydrated. So she's been home now a day, and she's been refueling on Relight, and it sounds a bit crazy, but she's walking around fine. She's fine.
My daughter was up with her whole family and she and her husband and their son Bo for a basketball tournament. They played in the state championship this weekend, and I sent her home with a bag of Relight.
Oh, nice.
She's a marathon runner. She's run Boston and New York and high level marathon runner, and she saw the Relight. She goes, "Oh, I love Relight." I go, "Here, take it back with you."
That's awesome. Whatever you guys need,
I get a discount.
So there, the other thing I want to mention too is Relight's not just for athletes. Right. We know there's several studies that have been done. Geriatrics, elderly people, when they slip and falls, 80% of slip and falls are actually caused by dehydration. And so the elderly, the young kids, the old kids, whatever, everybody needs to be properly hydrated. And what proper hydration is not just water. You have to have proper electrolytes and minerals in your body so your body functions properly. And Redmond and the Relight product specifically has all of these nutrients naturally. There's no sugar. It's an amazing product. And I use it every day. It's amazing. So our newest product, you guys will love. I brought some for you.
Oh, nice.
It's a protein powder, and it's the cleanest, most tasty protein powder on the market. It's amazing. And it's got a probiotic in it as well. But these are sample packs. So there's 2.
Oh, so
vanillas,
inside
2 chocolates.
there's chocolates and vanillas.
That's
inside
right. And it's just 2 sample packs, 4 sample packs. So
yeah,
awesome.
nice.
You guys can try that too.
Thank you.
I just found out from my wife and so I have a daughter. I don't know if we've told you. I have a daughter that's a Broadway star. So she spent a couple years She was in Moulin Rouge. She spent a couple of years. Well, she spent a year in Wicked. Wow. She played the lead in Smash. She's currently just started a new project called Gotta Dance, which just opened Friday night. Now it's hopefully on a great run
on Broadway.
Yeah, on Broadway.
Fantastic.
So when she was in Wicked, and she played multiple roles in Wicked, but she played Elphaba's mom a lot, which is also the principal dancer. Elphaba that whole year with Libby was a performer by the name of Mary Kate Morrissey, MK.
We call her MK.
Yeah.
We know her very well.
MK and my daughter Libby are best friends.
Seriously.
They go play golf together down on the coast. They do. MK's off on a private yacht tour right now while Libby's in Gotta Dance. But they are best buddies, MK and Libby. And I was seeing the thing, and MK's like doing a relight. I'm going, relight? And she goes, yeah, relationship with that. I do relight every day. And she's like a big time performer. Libby takes relight. I didn't know that. My daughter, that's the Broadway star, takes relight because she's a big time dancer. Yeah. And so you were saying it's not just for athletes. Well, these guys are kind of athletes.
They are.
But they're phenomenal singers, but they're also dancers and do all that. So Relight's back in Manhattan. These guys are back in Manhattan. They order it online, or I know
everywhere.
You send it to MK. But MK was who played Elphaba on Broadway, and it was such a fun year for them because they were both in Wicked that whole year when the movie came out.
So cool.
So they got to have interactions with the movie cast as well, and got to go to the world premiere. It was just the Broadway cast and the movie cast. And what's the common theme? Relight.
Well, you were overseas. You were overseas with international athletes taking relight.
Yep. Yeah. We spent some time. We went to Japan for the World Track and Field Championships in October last year, or September, whichever it was. And we were working with several athletes over there. I don't know if you know who.
What sport? Give us a sport.
Track and field. Her name's Jenny. I can't remember her last name. Prandini. Jenna Prandini. She's a world-class sprinter, and she loves relight. We've got, so many people that are doing this, and now we've got the protein powder out. This is a game changer as well. It's a fantastic product.
Diljit Taylor swears by relight. Today, she was named the Indoor National Women's Assistant Coach of the Year by the United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association. She wins every award that she's up for.
Isn't she amazing?
What does she mean to BYU?
So let me ask a question to you both, because you've been involved with BYU sports for 30 years. Has there ever been a time in the history of BYU sports where we've had such great, not just teams, but great coaches?
Oh, no.
Every sport that I can think of has an amazing coach who not only lives the principles of the gospel and the mission of BYU, like they wear it on their sleeves, but they're just great people. Diljit is a dear friend. She's an amazing woman, and these women, I'd love for my daughter to run for Diljit.
Yeah,
she's amazing coach.
They're world class in every way, not just as coaches.
100%.
Right? When Diljit comes in, she comes in, and she's been here on the show. She just lights up a room wherever she is, right?
She does.
So, and we love to have her here.
And we mentioned relight, or she mentioned it, and she lit up about that.
Yeah,
she goes, my whole team's on that.
Yeah.
Because in distance running or indoor running or outdoor running, it's all about your body and how it feels.
Yeah, the football team loves it. Jack Kelly, I don't know if I should say this, but Jack Kelly is in our restaurant, our cafe, almost every day.
Yeah.
He loves our cafe. It's all farm to table stuff and super healthy. So
why does my wife eat there and I've never eaten there?
Because I've never invited you. It's my fault.
So I need to get over and eat. Like, she's like, have you eaten there? I'm like, no. And she goes, hun, what is wrong with you?
What is wrong with you?
You got to come to some of our meetings. We eat there all the time.
You guys keep scheduling meetings when I'm on the road. So,
well, let us know your schedule. I'll take you. I'll treat you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Darren says Jenna P is the pride of the Central Valley in California.
She's amazing, man. She lives in Arizona now.
Yeah.
Every time I go to Arizona, I try to connect with her, but she's busy or I'm busy. So, but she's an amazing athlete, an amazing person as well.
We always talk about, we use this tagline all the time, the secret is in the salt. And you just talk about electrolytes and all that. What's so special about the salt component of that makes it so unique?
It's the only place that we know of in the United States where you can get a unrefined mineralized salt with what we have. Everything else is an evaporated salt. So they're buying it off the Great Salt Lake, or they're buying it from the Gulf of Mexico, or they're buying it from some other place. But when you buy an evaporated salt, you're also buying all the toxins that are in the evaporated salt. And the process that they get to actually be able to give you white salt on your table, no wonder doctors say stay away from white salt. It's actually really bad for you. But our mineralized salt comes straight from our salt mine. We don't do any refining on it. We don't do any processing in it. We crush it a little bit, and then we put it into a shaker, and that's what you get. And this is from a deposit that's 120 million years old. It's been untouched, and it's got the perfect ratio of all of the minerals that you need for your body. And in fact, if you look at it next to a kind of an analysis of blood, they're almost identical. Human blood and our salt, they're almost identical in its chemical makeup. So it's highly soluble. Once your body takes it in, your body knows exactly what to do with it.
So the person listening to this interview on our podcast or here on the stream or on YouTube, wherever you get it. So for the average person, if they're feeling like they just are dragging, or just wish they had more energy to get them through the day, but aren't quite sure what to do. Does that mean I got to go jogging or go to the gym or whatever? Maybe it does in a little bit of all that stuff. But this is something that they can have with breakfast and have at the end of the day. So for that person, what do you say?
The person that's tired?
Yeah, just the person that's like, I instead of going 65, I'd like to go 70.
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to give advice, but I'll tell you this. If you have issues with cramping, if you have issues with headaches, some of these things are all related to hydration and proper hydration. And the more water you drink, sometimes this is counterintuitive, but the more water you drink, actually the less hydrated you are. Because what happens is the water flushes all your electrolytes out. So you have to be replacing your electrolytes too. So I would say, look, people sometimes struggle with energy, and I don't know what the issues are necessarily, but Redmond Relight can help you. It will always help. You got to be hydrated.
Harvey Scott is the Chief Development Officer for Redmond, which makes Relight on the Wise Guys tonight, live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and wiseguys.com. A moment ago, you talked about the phenomenal coaches that are on campus, and each week, Relight's the sponsor of our Athlete of the Week. And it's quite the contest to come up with the one who was the best, with all that's going on with the contenders for this weekly prize, which we certainly appreciate in your support of this show. But what is it that amazes you about today's student athlete?
About AJ?
Or just all of them?
Oh my gosh. I think I told you this last time. I swam for BYU for a semester, and the balancing act of trying to be a good student and trying to work on your craft and date and go to church and have a social life outside. It's incredible what these young athletes are doing now, and at the level that they're doing it. And to look at somebody like a Jane Hindegren or an AJ or a Richie or a Dawson or whatever, a Bear or any of these guys, right? I mean, even Jack Kelly. Look, I mean, did you see that Jack Kelly actually ran a faster 40 than Chase Roberts did?
Yeah,
he turned some heads.
Unbelievable.
I covered pro day. He had a good,
30 pounds heavier. The guy is just an absolute beast.
Yep.
So yeah, it is wildly impressive what these athletes are doing, what they're able to do.
And they just keep coming in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are all freshmen we're talking about, or at least a lot of them. And then
this freshman class. You talk about this coaching staff. Dave and I keep marveling and going, has there ever been a freshman class across the board, across sports in the history of BYU sports?
I don't think so.
It is nuts when you think about it.
Well, think about today, an NBA mock draft for next year came out, and Bruce Branch is number two, which means the debate of whether he should be number one or not is going to happen again.
Start again next year.
Hey, let's bring it. My mission president in Australia, I served in Australia, and there was a time when there was some pretty hard anti-church stuff coming out, and he said to us, don't worry about it. All press is good press. Because what it does is it actually raises either expectations or questions.
Yeah.
And if you have questions, you can answer them.
Yeah.
Right. So bring it on. Yeah. We're ready for the world.
It's good stuff.
Where can folks go to learn more about Redmond and Relight, and then where can they purchase?
Yeah. So Redmond.com is probably our best source of information.
Okay.
There's tons of stuff on YouTube. There's tons of stuff on our website, actually. If you want to purchase, you can go to our stores. We have 6 grocery stores here in Utah. You can buy it at Harmon's, or you can just buy it on Redmond.com.
And then
if you wanna go-
Amazon,
and
they'll
Amazon.
just bring it to your house.
That's right.
And if you want to go to the cafe that we're going to go to at some point together.
Well, it's a date.
Yeah, it's on
8th North.
800 North and just west of State Street, right by Sonic.
Yeah, it's right behind Sonic. It's maybe the worst location. I probably shouldn't say that because it's hidden back
But everybody
behind,
drives by Sonic, so they know where
they
that
know
is.
where it is. That's right. And then we also the other cafe location that we have is in Sugar House.
Well, this cafe has a line because it's good and food and it's hot. And we were there on Friday and it was just one person after the other. And so business is good. We love that you support this show, and we have some really cool things that we're going to announce soon together and take this thing to a new place.
It's going to be fun. And look, if you have athletes that are looking for maybe some NIL or some help, let us know and have them reach out to us directly. They can reach out to me directly. We're happy to talk to them and see how we can help them.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Blaine.
Good to see you again.
Always.
You know, you're welcome anytime.
Yes.
You can just show up on a Monday and go, I'd like to be on the show. We'll just sit down.
I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm the ugliest of the three people on it, right? I mean, so we're good. I appreciate the offer. I love coming on just because I like spending time with you guys. So thank you.
Thanks. And you're doing a lot of good stuff for a lot of good people. So.
Thank you. We're involved. We're involved in the community. We really love this community and we want to stay involved. So.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a lunch place, it's that right behind Sonic and that in that area, same place where there was Meet the Basketball team last year. And anyway, it's worth the trip. And anyway, we just love being hooked up with you guys. So thank you.
Dave.
Thanks, Harvey.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate you guys.
Harvey Scott of Redmond Relight, the secret's in the salt. We talked about the secret. It's not really a secret, but it's the secret.
So, but and I'm glad you explained it to us because there's salt that you're always like, oh, you don't want to put too much salt on your food, which is all processed, dehydrated salt, which has toxins in it. And there's mineralized salt that comes out of the ground that's been in there for however many years that's in its pure form that they just grind up and put out there. And it's got all the minerals and those kinds of things. And that's what makes it different. So,
And now they have this.
Yep, absolutely.
Protein powder. We're going to check that out too. And you can check
I'll
it
try
out
it for sure.
on their website.
23 grams of protein. I'm good with that.
Let's do that. Campus Notes are presented by BYU Pathway Worldwide. BYU Pathway makes truly affordable, fully online, spiritually based college degrees accessible to folks worldwide through greatly reduced tuition, weekly peer gatherings, and English support, helping students earn sooner, increase their income, and deepen their faith. And you can learn more at byupathway.edu. You're going to learn a lot more about it tonight. But let's run over what's going on campus. Back to basketball. Men's hoops finishes at 23-12, lose to Texas in the first round of the big dance, 4 of 22 from 3. That's not going to do it. 16 offensive rebounds for the Horns. That's not going to do it. They trailed by 17, cut it to 4, but back-to-back empty possessions, and then that didn't do it either.
Yeah, Texas was just a little bit too big and too physical. Those offensive rebounds were deadly in that first half, especially 16 offensive boards. Come on. Yeah. And so BYU got out-physicaled in this game, and they just couldn't shoot the ball. So
zero bench
not
points.
the best defense ever. Yeah. When we looked at that after the game, we go down to so on the scoring sheet, you have 5 starters and there's a line and then and it was just a bunch of zeros all the way down. Not a single point off the bench in that game.
Yeah, you can't do that in the tournament.
Not at that level, not against teams that good. There's just no way. You got to get some contribution from your bench. They just didn't.
Fans are bummed out for sure. And we're going to talk about it here for a minute as far as where we go from here. I've got an article in the Deseret News today on, despite the early exit, high expectations are still better than no expectations at all. And we know programs that don't have any of that.
Right.
Not too far from us. That's at Deseret.com. It's not hey, it's okay to try hard and lose, but it's the reality of the ride that we've had, which has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and remember, we talked about it a little bit with Harvey here, but BYU lost critical players that were going to be part of the regular rotation and play extended minutes in games. They lost Dawson Baker, they lost Nate Pickens. You mentioned both of those. You lose Brody Kozlowski, a 6'7", 230-pound
three-point shooter.
Three-point shooter that would have shot in the 40 percentile plus range and also go get you boards. He was a big mismatch problem. He was like, you're going to put a little guy on him and chase him out to the perimeter? Then they'll just post him up and he'll out-rebound you. Or you're going to put a big guy on him, he'll just go out and shoot threes. And so don't underestimate the impact that Brody could have had. And they lost Brody, Nate, and Dawson before they even got going.
Yeah.
And then they lose Richie. And then they floundered for a little bit after they lost Richie. Remember, they had that streak where you're like, oh my goodness, they can't find themselves. But to their credit and to the coaching staff's credit, they kind of figured out how to get some renewed energy and went on a pretty good roll to end the season, despite the fact that they were missing 4 really important cogs.
Well, and if you think about it, the way it ended was kind of a bummer, but this journey that we all been on since November 3rd in Vegas at T-Mobile, this team took BYU to places it's never been, to play teams they've never played, to hit a 3-point shot on Madison Square Garden, to beat Clemson on ESPN on a Tuesday night, beating Iowa State, beating Texas Tech when they're both in the top 10. It was just a little bit of everything. It ends with a dang it, but AJ is the number one story in college basketball throughout the whole thing. We've never been here before. We just went on that ride, and it's nothing that you just crinkle up and throw out and go, we lost to Texas. This whole thing was a bust.
No,
this was a great.
Hey, I'll take that 16-1 start and all of the hype and all of the attention. And AJ was the talk of college basketball.
And what's he going to do tonight? We just haven't had that. And
so fun.
So as disappointing as an end can be in this season, the journey was so different from every other journey we've been on that commands some respect to not just get thrown out because we couldn't rebound against Texas. Texas just beat Gonzaga. You know what? You salute them. They were better than BYU.
They were better.
AJ almost beat them by himself, but Texas as a whole, they just were better than BYU that night. And there's a bunch of reasons, and the injuries are number one.
And with that shorthanded team, that Iowa State game, I'm telling you, the way Iowa State's playing right now, Iowa State, they keep playing like this. They could win the national championship. They're good enough. Houston could win the national championship. Arizona could win the.
BYU had the ball with a chance to beat. They beat Iowa State and a chance to beat the other two.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't like they were way off here.
And that's shorthanded. So the Iowa State win is huge because they're just killing people in the tournament. Yeah,
and they eliminated Kentucky big time.
They dominated them.
Okay, so let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about AJ. Here are the projections for today. NBA Draft Room, number 1 to the Pacers. CBS has been going number 1 to the Kings.
Please, not the curse of the Kings.
ESPN has been going number 2 to the Wizards. And Sporting News has him going number 3 to the Nets, where he'd join Yegor.
I would actually not mind that. Would that be fun?
I mean, the Nets are full of young guys. They're going places.
And Yegor he had this foot issue now that he's going to sit the rest of the season, but what a role he was on.
Yeah, so if you see those projections, you don't see any projections of him coming back to BYU.
After how the Kings mismanaged Jimmer, I don't want anybody to go to the Kings. So let's just say avoid the Kings.
And you know what? You could say, hey, you know what? It looks like those 3 teams are having the best odds to be number 1. I don't want anything to do with any of them. I'm going back to school.
Could the Jazz tank bad enough?
They're trying.
To win the lottery, even though they have less of a chance, and get the number 1 pick and take AJ?
Sometimes the Jazz are so bad they can't lose.
Well, think about it. The Jazz have had all of these injuries. I think they're injuries, or are they just, I don't know.
They're things.
But
things come up.
When you look at the youth on that Jazz team and who they've got coming back, you add AJ to that, this could be one of the great young teams in basketball. Come on, Jazz, just tank a little more. Let's get the number 1 pick and get AJ. That's my wish.
Now, the Cougar Nation has a question. Do you think even if BYU didn't have the injuries, that the team was big enough? They were never going to be bigger than what they were. But if you're running and gunning and scoring in different ways, then Texas can't just rely on their 7-2 guy.
Right. Here's the thing.
If you're making shots, he doesn't get so many offensive rebounds.
If you're scoring at a high clip and you're knocking down a bunch of threes, they now have to match you. So you've got Dawson Baker out there and he's knocking down threes, and Richie's getting into the paint and kicking the ball.
And you know what big teams do? They take their big guy out of the game.
You know what? We got to go small.
Yeah.
BYU had enough talent and so much skill on offense with those guys. And I do think Brody Kozlowski could have really helped them rebounding. And Richie, we know, helps them rebounding. Yeah. Right? They don't get 16 offensive boards, even if just Richie's playing in that game, because Richie's probably going to get 5 offensive boards, and he's going to clean the boards on defense. He's one of the best rebounding wings in college basketball. I think they missed his rebounding as much as anything. Right?
Yeah.
And his will to go make a play down the stretch.
His leadership.
And so my answer is they wouldn't have been bigger, but they would have created all kinds of mismatch problems for other teams, and teams would have had to go small to match up with them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is a big difference. But they didn't have him, and then we saw that Texas could just throw it into their big guy, and when you're 4 of 22 on threes, there's a lot of rebounds going to the Longhorns.
Yeah.
But they killed them on the offensive glass too, which was
very disappointing.
Which was tough. We mentioned earlier, we were talking about AJ, and the last I'd heard, it'd be in the next couple weeks. He'll just come out and announce what he's doing. Bruce Branch is 6'7", a 5-star kid. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, the 2027 mock draft by NBADraft.net has him the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah. So here we go again.
It would be Yegor at 9, AJ at 1.
Branch at 2.
What's going on here? And now it's about getting the right pieces around him.
That's right. And, we're going to see, I expect that we're going to have some departures from guys that are eligible to come back. But, you did a nice job, Dave. You kind of listed all of the guys that could be back.
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
There's no way all these guys can be back because there's too many guys.
But to give you an idea, we talked about Bruce Branch, 5-star newcomer, 6'7" wing, big guard, 7'1" wingspan on Bruce Branch.
And he can't wait to be here.
Very good range. Oh. 3-point. He shoots very well from 3-point.
And Sean on ESPN,
Sean Farnham.
Farnham. I wanted to call him McFarland from the movie, but Sean Farnham. He said the first thing he said is he's not AJ. It's not another AJ coming. It's a totally different player who's also really, really good at what he does.
Right. Hey, Darren Peterson's not AJ, but we'll take him.
Yeah.
Boozer's different than AJ, so he's not the exact same guy as AJ. He's a little bit different. He does have a really nice mid-range game like AJ, but he's going to be a big-time player and going to have a huge impact. He's going to be one of the top freshmen in America next year.
So let me give you some names, and you tell me if you think they're going to be back.
Yeah.
And that'll put some pressure on us because we'll be a little bit loose. Rob Wright, a junior to be.
Think he'll come back.
He said if he's not in a pro jersey, he'll be at BYU. So we'll see there. Kennard Davis, a senior to be.
I don't know.
I don't either. It kind of feels like no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dean Rickert, 4-star newcomer today, named the Deseret News 5A Player of the Year.
Yeah,
he's going to be a phenomenal player.
I saw he's another 6'8". He's a 6'8" small forward. I saw a highlight of him. He got a breakaway. He did a 360 windmill dunk.
See, I love the creativity there.
360 windmill. And he's also a good shooter, so he'll bring some rebounding, shooting. Yeah, he's here. He's coming.
About Brooks Barr, 3-star newcomer, signed by Mark Pope and his group, back from his mission, kid out of Texas, a lefty who can shoot. Looking forward to seeing what he brings.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Keller, Texas kid, 6'4" guard.
Okay, now here comes some of the harder ones. KJ Perry, sophomore to be, the top JUCO prospect.
Yeah, he committed the number 1 JC player, 6'2" guard. Yeah, I think he's here next year.
You think he's here?
Yeah.
Alexei Kosic.
I don't know.
Sophomore to be, I don't know either. Defense and dribbling were not his things.
He had some flashes where he hit some shots,
and
they brought him in to be a 3-point spot-up marksman. And maybe it depends on what happens with Dawson or not. So I think there's a good chance he could come back because I think at the end of the season, he did some of the things that they wanted him to do all season.
And a freshman. So a freshman who's actually playing with the starters.
I think
you got a shot.
I think he's got a very good chance to be back.
Hadim Boop, sophomore to be.
I think he's back, and I think they were really pleased with what he brought at the end of the season. Considering he's a freshman, he was a raw talent.
Great energy.
He's back. Yep.
Great energy. Brody Kozlowski, still waiting on him.
Yeah, back.
Injuries have been a mess.
Get the injuries behind him. He's a BYU guy, back at BYU, and I think he could have a huge impact.
Nate Pickens, he's expecting to be back. And I think he'll be back. Dawson Baker could come back.
Depends on health.
And it's all about that knee, and that knee was wrecked more than most people know. And so I have a feeling he's going to retire. I'm not announcing it. I just feel like
if we don't see him back, they need to go find another shooter like him.
Yeah.
Because
you got to have him.
You got to have him, and he would have been a huge difference maker on this year's team.
Abdullah Ahmed, junior to be.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Dominic Diamande kind of came on toward the end.
Sophomore.
Gave him a little bit of a spark. He'll be a sophomore.
Freakish athlete, really raw talent. I think they love his upside. So I think it'll be up to him.
Up to him. Okay. Tyler Morus, junior to be.
I don't know.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah,
right?
I don't
know. Another guy brought in to make shots, just couldn't make shots. And it's not the BYU of old where let's just go out and keep trying. It's I got to find some pieces right now if we're going to be in the game.
Well, I remember Kevin Young right after the game said we have to have shooting. This game's about shooting.
Yeah.
So.
And Xavier Staten, sophomore to be, who has been
he's been out. He's been hurt, and so I don't think you decide what's going to happen with him until you get him healthy and see what he can actually do. And he certainly came in with all kinds of talent. And BYU needs some length, right? We know that. He's not a big physical dude. He's a skilled big guy that can run the floor. But in addition to what they've got to go find another big guy.
Yeah,
right?
they need a starting
because Kade is graduating. Right, he's gone.
They've got to get a center, and they need shooting, and they need chemistry. And that's you can go to the portal and get some pieces, and then it's on the staff to help create the chemistry.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Dawson Baker can completely recover, because I just think they need his mentality and his experience on the team.
Yeah.
When they didn't have him or Richie down the stretch, that hurt.
These next 6 weeks are going to be very interesting as far as the construction of this roster. And there'll be guys that go where you might go, oh, dang, wow. And there'll be guys that come that go, whoa, hey, okay. And so that's on Kevin Young and his staff, and they know what they need, and they know where they can get it, and they have the support to do it. So it'll be an exciting 6 weeks. It's not about, basketball's now 12 months a year. And it's a story every time we come on Wise Guys. It's like, what just happened with football? What just happened with basketball? And something always happens.
That's right.
That's Absolutely. The world we're in. 3 Big 12 teams are still in the Sweet 16. Houston, Iowa State, and Arizona. We wish them all the best. They're the 3 best teams in the Big 12.
Arizona's 1 seed. They've got Arkansas, the 4 seed. Houston's a 2 seed. They have Illinois, who's a 3 seed. And then Iowa State's a 2 seed. And they're playing Tennessee.
Yeah, and Arizona's going to play Arkansas. That's going to be a tough one.
I honestly think that Iowa State's got a shot, Dave. So
we'll see.
I mean,
I had Florida. We had Florida as part of our Final Four.
They killed Kentucky.
Iowa bounced those guys. Yeah, they took those guys apart. Women's hoops 23-11 in action tonight against Missouri in the second
they're
round
just tipping off right now.
of the WBIT. Beat Alabama A&M. You were on the call. That one 72-47 last week. Sydney Benali set BYU's all-time freshman assist record with 135. We're talking about freshmen and all of these.
Man.
Here's one that's special that's going to be dishing the ball out for the next 3 years.
Yeah, with Sydney Benali and Liv Hamlin, they have 2 of the best freshmen in the country. Their guard line's phenomenal. You combine that with Delaney Gibbs. Delaney Gibbs is just a sophomore.
Right.
We don't talk about the women going out early, right? And that core, those 3 guards coming back, and they have Bola, who's a big center. They're going to have to replace. You know who's been playing really well? Lotta Rokel, the big from Germany. They're going to miss her, so they're going to have to replace her. But this team has the makings of a team that can be really good next year and phenomenal the year after.
If they win tonight, they'll play Stanford at the Marriott Center on Thursday.
Yeah,
so we'll keep you posted on social media.
If they make it through, we got to go.
Men's volleyball is 16-6. They're 3-2, ranked number 9. Swept Concordia Irvine 3-zip and 3-zip. Big showdown this weekend. Number 6 Pepperdine at BYU Friday and Saturday at 7 on Big Ten Plus. 10 p.m. tape delay on the BYU TV app. Sean Olmstead is 2 wins away from becoming the winningest coach in program history. He's got 204. Carl McGowan has 205. It could happen this weekend.
Think about that.
Just get to those games.
Carl McGowan's a legend,
exciting.
and Sean's also a legend. Sean comes in and is always so good to us when he comes here. We love Sean and what he's doing. So best of luck. Go get that record this week, right?
Absolutely.
So baseball is 10-12, 2-4 in league play. Number 20 West Virginia swept the Cougs in Morgantown, and then BYU beat Utah Tech 18-5 Tuesday in St. George. Up next, BYU's at Utah tomorrow, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. It's a non-Big 12 game. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it was part of the preseason schedule and they left it that. The first time the Cougars will play in the Utes' new on-campus ballpark.
They finally got out of downtown Salt Lake. It's great for them.
Yeah, then Oklahoma State's at BYU Thursday through Friday, 6 p.m., and then Saturday, 1 p.m. That's on ESPN Plus. You and Gary Scheide will be calling those games.
Yep, that'll be a busy weekend. Softball's 9-20. They're 1-5 in the Big 12. Beat number 21 Oklahoma State 7-3 on Saturday back in Stillwater to avoid a sweep. Friday they got beat 10-0. Ruby Malin threw a perfect game.
Wow.
So shout out to Oklahoma State's Ruby. She was fantastic. Up next, BYU's at Utah Valley. They're in Orem tomorrow at 6 on ESPN+. And then Kansas is at BYU Thursday and Friday at 6 and Saturday at noon, also on ESPN+. So there'll be baseball on this side and softball on this side.
Guys, if you're just looking for something to do on these glorious spring days,
do that.
There is so much to do right now this week. Go support baseball, volleyball, track and field if you want to run down to St. George. So we'll talk about that. But there's just so much going on. Volleyball on Saturday night. Outdoor track and field, Utah Tech Invitationals in St. George. The men, 4 first place finishes. And All-American Josh Taylor won the 200-meter dash in 21.37. The women, Macy Taylor finished second in the 400-meter hurdles in 58.47. So you needed to go to St. George if you want to see track this last weekend.
It's a shorter run if you live up here.
But now, if you want to see him this weekend or this Thursday, Utah Valley University Collegiate Invitational is in Orem on Thursday. So go out and support track. There's so much on Thursday. And then Trojan Invitational is Saturday in Los Angeles. So if you want to go to real warm weather, head down to LA.
Go to the beach.
Yeah.
Gymnastics, the Big 12 Championships, BYU took 3rd place. Scarlett Sonnenberg tied for 2nd on the floor with a 9.950. Deb Silva tied for 3rd on the vault with a 9.875. And Brindley Anderson Brakeman tied for 4th on the beam with a 9.900. Head coach Gard Young named Big 12 Coach of the Year. We congratulate Gard. Up next, it's the NCAA Championships. BYU will go to the 2nd round of the Tempe, Arizona Regional on April 2nd. They're in the group with Georgia, Michigan State, and Southern Utah. The top 2 teams advance to the region final. And all Big 12 honorees, Brindley Anderson Brakeman in the beam, Ava Jorgensen in the bars, and Scarlett Sonnenberg, the all-freshman team. That gymnastics program is coming on.
Oh, man.
We wish them the best.
That is a fun sport to go watch because there's something going on all the time, all over the place. So men's golf, national ranking of number 27 right now. This week, the Bridgestone Collegiate Invitational in Napa Valley, California. That's today and tomorrow. Bruce Brockbank with his men's golf team over in Napa Valley.
Women's golf, they took 10th at the Betsy Rawls Longhorn Invitational. Senior Lily McCauley tied for 22nd, her 8th top 25 finish of her BYU career. Up next, it's the Wyoming Cowgirl Classic. We know there's any golf courses over there.
Laramie.
They're playing in Maricopa, Arizona, April 7th and 8th.
Not this time of year in Laramie, anyhow. So, women's tennis, what a start for Holly Hassler, who's been on the show here with us in studio. They're 15-4, 4-3 in conference, a national ranking of number 29. They beat Texas Tech 4-3 in Lubbock.
That's big.
That was big. And then BYU beat Colorado 4-2 in Boulder. Up next, Kansas State's at BYU. When? On Thursday.
Everything's going on Thursday.
And then Oklahoma State's at BYU Saturday at 11 a.m. I'm telling you, you could see a little bit of everything in BYU sports if you just make your way around campus on Thursday.
Men's tennis is 13-4. They're 1-2 in the Big 12. Number 12 UCF beat the Cougars in Orlando 4-1. Texas Tech's at BYU on Friday at 5 o'clock men's tennis. Campus Notes presented by BYU Pathway Worldwide. Learn how to increase your education in a way that can benefit your life at byupathway.edu, which is a perfect segue into our next guest, who's a BYU grad, making a difference heading up English Connect for BYU Pathway Worldwide. Amazing how eliminating a language barrier can open up yourself to a whole new world and folks looking to improve their lives. So it's a pleasure to welcome Brandon Luke to the Wise Guys. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Glad
here.
to have you. Did you like our little? What do we call this? A lair?
It's like a lair.
I was looking around.
It's
I was
kind
impressed.
of a man cave right here, right?
I actually love back here. You guys can't see it, but it's like this center for them to brainstorm all their ideas. You got a big whiteboard over there.
Oh, yeah,
some inspirational quotes. It's awesome.
The ideas flow wildly
Yes,
here in
wildly.
this room.
Oh,
Sometimes they get so big they just go right out the door.
I want to be here for that next time. Let me know.
Well, you're here tonight, having grown up a Utah fan, now all Royal, and sitting here on the Wise Guys. How would you describe your life's journey to this moment?
You mean from being a Utah fan to now?
Yeah,
Just
when
the,
did you
the world
forsake
you're
your
in.
sins of Utah?
I was surprised, that you invited me on here. I thought you would have felt that vibe initially as I, got invited. So the story is I grew up in Salt Lake, and I'm a little bit of a contrarian at heart, I think. And all of my friends were Cougar fans, and my dad was predominantly a Cougar fan, and my older brother was too. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a Ute fan. And so I leaned all into that.
Draw your line in the sand.
Yes. But then what happened was I went on my mission, and I loved the MTC experience. I just loved it so much. I'm like, I want to work there when I come home from my mission. And so as I looked into it, I knew that you had to go to BYU to work at the MTC. So I was like, Dad, can you fill out my application for BYU? And I don't know how I got in. I'm a little surprised. Like, looking back at my grades, I was not the best student in every way. I look at the kids again at BYU now, and I'm like, whoa, I would not have been admitted.
Dave and I we always say that. We're like, man, we could have never gotten in there.
So anyway, I got into BYU, started working at the MTC, and I still was a Ute fan. Like, I claimed Ute over BYU. And I think it was when I graduated and I came back with my master's degree, somewhere in that period of time, I was like, okay, I've been here a long time. I love the Cougars. I love going to the games. I love, cheering them on. And so I officially switched allegiances. So I have a bachelor's and a master's through BYU.
And your wife, Pam, and your 3 kids, they've never been Utes, right?
No.
They've always been Cougs.
Yeah, well, my wife did the tour of all of the universities in Utah.
Oh, so she's attended all?
Yeah, she started at Snow College and ended at Utah State. So, she got her graduate degree here at BYU, but the rest of the time she kind of did a tour of a lot of the other ones. So
what a ride, huh?
Can you see the thread? Mission, BYU, your wife, your degrees, your jobs.
It's true.
And all these things happen really because you chose to go on a mission. Because your mission is when you decided, you know what, I feel like I should go to the MTC and teach.
Yeah.
Without those feelings, we're talking about a wife, Shirley, and 9 kids. And
Shirley's a lovely lady too.
But can you see how the thread has kind of brought you through it?
Well, even my job that I have today, because the reason my bachelor's is actually in math education, and people are like, what is a math education guy doing working on English Connect, right? Yeah. And it's because I went and learned a language. I started my mission French speaking, and when I came home from my mission, I wanted to teach at the MTC, so I did some linguistic classes, learned a little bit about that. What it takes to learn a language. And then later on, my boss, who's the director of English Connect, I met her at the MTC while I was there. And so it even continues on into my professional career.
You know what, though? We got to there's got to be some sports tie here. And we're thinking about who was on campus playing sports while you were here that could have had something to do with your conversion. Max Hall, Taysom Hill, and Jimmer Fredette.
You guys keep time by, I think, the quarterbacks at BYU. That's like,
that's how you do.
That's like how we mark the passing of time.
That was the Taysom Hill time. When were you here? Well, I was here during the Brandon Doman era.
It was a good time. Yeah.
Most universities, it's like the president of the university era. At BYU, it's like, well, who's the quarterback then? Oh yeah, I remember those years, right?
Yeah. No, they were good times. Yeah, Taysom Hill, the hurdle, all that good stuff was great. It was fun. It was fun to cheer him on during that time.
We're thrilled to have Brandon Luke from BYU Pathway Worldwide on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus and Mountain America Credit Union. Wise Guys is distributed by the Deseret News. One of the great modern miracles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is BYU Pathway Worldwide. We've been talking about it for a year now. And their effort to improve the lives of folks around the world through education. So your job with BYU Pathway is to help knock down language barriers. Tell us how English Connect works.
Yeah, that's a great question. So English Connect has 3 different courses or 3 different levels that we offer. There's English Connect 1 and 2. And those are like the novice level classes. Like, you don't know any English or very little English. Those are the ones you start out with. And those are typically run by wards and stakes around the world. You can go home, talk to your bishop if you ever want to start an English Connect group. And he'll be like, oh, really? You want to start? And he's like, yeah, so let's do it. And so all the materials available in the Gospel Library app to be able to do so. And so those are run by the wards and stakes. English Connect 3 is run by BYU Pathway Worldwide, and there's a place for people to hop in there and they can apply and join that program. And it's for a very low cost. It's around $30 per every 7-week block that you kind of register for. And English Connect is a really interesting space because it's this pathway to Pathway Connect and the rest of the BYU Pathway Worldwide experience. But we also are looking out around at other audiences that we can support and help out. So The missionary audience, we launched a few years ago, English Credit for Missionaries. So missionaries who are serving their full-time missions, while they're out there serving, they have the chance to learn English. So they come home from their mission and they have this marketable skill. They have this way to go into BYU Pathway. It's just awesome. There's a new pilot they're doing for English Credit for Youth. That's part of, I don't know if you've heard of the Succeed in Schools program. So it's a program that's being offered by the church in lots of different areas. They just launched it here in Utah. They actually started internationally and they brought it back here. It sits alongside their high school experience to help prepare them academically for post-high school opportunities in academic. And so English Credit kind of sits with that space too. So it's a really cool area to work and just being able to impact so many different lives.
We always are blown away by the numbers at BYU Pathway, how many people are involved in that. So take us through how many in this program are there currently enrolled globally in these English programs?
Yeah, great question. So it's tough to know exactly how many because English Credit 1 and 2 are registered users, or about 50,000 per year. But whenever I travel to an area and visit with some people and talk to some people, I always find like 10 people to every one person that's actually registered. Because they just show up, right? The class is at the church building. I'm just showing up and doing this thing. So 40, 50,000, but that could be over 100,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well over 100,000. So we have,
I was going to say, what about the level 3 program?
So level 3, we have about 10,000 people who are engaging in that per year.
10,000 people are learning English.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you combine that with the 1 and 2 groups, I mean, you're easily over 100,000.
100, 110, 120,000 people that the church is providing a framework for them to learn English.
Yeah, and it's amazing because so much of it's subsidized to be able to help support that and keep it at a low cost, or for the war and stake level, all the resources are provided for them for free. So
when we think of the gift of tongues in the church culture, we often think of our English-speaking children going on missions and learning Cambodian or Spanish or wherever they go around the world in this crash course of 6 weeks at the MTC, maybe 1 week at home, and then you're out there. But this is the other way, looking back, and the gift of tongues of those who don't know English can learn English quickly and then go that way. Yeah,
I mean, God loves every single one of his children, like you're saying, right? And the missionary that's in the MTC, like, I don't know if you guys had a chance to learn a language on your missions, or
I learned Texan and all Blaine's.
Good luck with that.
Blaine's kids have learned every language that's out there.
Yeah, when we go on a trip, we have doesn't matter where we go, we have every language between all of our kids and me with German. So
and sort of when they enter the MTC and experience that, it's just so much stress. It's so hard. Right. And it kind of pushes you to your knees. Learning Texan and, Southern is rough as well. It's just really hard. And so God sees that. He sees them praying for that, and he wants to help them. And so he blesses them with the gift of tongues. That's true for someone learning English, right? You think somebody that maybe a neighbor over here in Provo, Utah, they've been here for a few months or a year, and they're just struggling, right? If they knew English, they would be able to increase their job opportunities, like double them, be able to make, 50% more income per year. God's worried about them. He loves that person just as much as he does his missionary. And he wants to help them learn English as much as he wants to help the missionary learn Spanish or German or whatever it may be. And so that's why, as part of the English Credit curriculum, every lesson starts out with a spiritual principle of learning by studying by faith. So we want them to learn how to draw upon the powers of heaven to be able to learn the language. And that's something that we've written it in a way that's accessible to people of all faiths. We've reviewed them with our Muslim friends and our, Hindu friends, and talked to them about them. They're like, this is great stuff. We love it, right? They don't agree with everything in there, because we talk about faith in Jesus Christ, and they recognize that there's some differences there, and they appreciate that too, that we can talk about what those differences are. But generally speaking, they love how we just bring in that spiritual connection and getting power to help them.
Well, as you've traveled the world with BYU Pathway, what success stories have you seen as people learn English, both with employment opportunities and bringing people under Christ in the church?
Yeah. So that is probably one of the coolest privileges of being able to travel. And I have to answer this question with just I don't want to forget it as we kind of keep on through this interview. It's just a deep thank you to all the volunteers. I mean, so we talked about those numbers, right? 100,000 people who are out there learning. I mean, there's just 1,000, 5,000 volunteer teachers and service missionaries who are all around the world making those miracles that I'm going to share a few stories about happen. And so So if you're one of those volunteers and you're out there watching this, just thank you.
We salute you.
Yeah, you're incredible. And it's, people talk about English Connect doing things. English Connect doesn't do nothing, man. Like it's the missionaries and it's the service, church service callings that go out and actually make the miracles happen. So you talked about some of the blessings that can happen in people's lives and some of the miracles that we see. Sometimes they're bigger and sometimes they're smaller. I remember one time I was visiting in New York a couple years ago, and I was talking to a guy, and he was like, yeah, I used to live or work just as a dishwasher. And that was what I did, making very little money. And it was just really hard. I had to work tons of hours. And then I joined an English Connect class. And because of my time in the English Connect class, I went from the back room washing dishes to now I'm in the front room where I'm taking orders for people. I'm a waiter. And I don't know where he is now, because once people begin to get that confidence and they begin to see what they can do and they have a chance to practice the language, oh man, the sky's the limit. And someone else that I know that was in another location in their country. And, they started out not knowing English. They want to go to BYU Pathway Worldwide. So they started at English Connect 1, work through that. They get to English Connect 2, they work through that. They get to English Connect 3, they work through that program, and then they start their BYU Pathway program. Another time I was visiting with somebody who was the English Connect 1 and 2 students. And I was like, did you know that there's also a free, I asked, first off, I started asking like, what are your goals? Like, why are you here to, be in this program? And things like, it'd be nice if I could talk to my neighbors or, go to the grocery store. And then I introduced BYU Pathway to them and they're like, that's my goal now. Right. And so like, as they kind of build that confidence, they can see what's possible for them. Then the spiritual sides, like those are amazing. I'm going to share maybe a small story and then a couple bigger ones. So the small story there is I was sitting in a Zoom room. This was with a group of English Connect 3 students, and I was just chatting them up, and talking to this one kid. He did a great job with the activity that we had planned for that lesson. And I was like, so tell me about do you feel like you receive help from God in learning a language? Like, Brother Luke, I feel that all the time, And then this was like, I will never forget this moment. He turned to me and looked me in the eyes and he said, I feel it right now. He's like, I feel God helping me speak to you right now. Right. Yeah. And those kinds of experiences are happening right now here in Provo, Utah. I'm sure there's a group happening where they're feeling God help them, not in just some abstract sense, but like they literally feel his help while they're learning language. And I'm just rambling on, but I got to tell you one more. Is that okay?
Yeah. Well, give us a good one.
Okay. This is the last one. Yeah, last one, and then I promise I'll stop. So last year I had the chance to go down to Brazil, and we went to a city called Porto Alegre, and then we went to a branch that's just outside the city. And they had done this miracle where they partnered an English Connect youth class with a seminary class, and 2 different nights of the week. And they had a small youth group of just a handful of students, and then their friends got invited, right? And their friends invited their friends, and their friends invited their friends. And the group went from around 8 or so to 50 over a period of time. And then the baptism started rolling in too. And, not all of them got baptized and not all of them are required to get baptized. That's not our only goal. We want to love and serve all of God's children, whether they want to join the church or not. But they ended up with over 40 baptisms.
Oh, wow.
From that little branch in Porto Alegre, and just amazing things that can happen.
Well, how about a bonus story for Calgary?
Oh yeah,
and the good folks up there.
Oh yeah.
So Calgary, this is a great story too, because this really shows how a ward or a stake can use English Connect as an opportunity to help bless the lives of refugees or people in their neighborhood, right? So Calgary, the stake president up there and some other individuals got together when the Ukrainian war outbroke. And Calgary got a lot of refugees that came in who didn't know English or Canadian. Just kidding.
Canadian.
Well said. Well played.
That's right. So they arrived there, and then the members in the areas decide they're going to start an English class. And so they start these groups up, and they invite all of those neighbors to come and join the class. And over time, everyone of course is welcome to join the classes. But eventually, they had enough baptisms and things that they formed a Calgary Ukrainian branch up there.
And that was so the branch came directly as a result of them coming to English class, and it just grew from there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And now we just got to get them through English Connect 3 and then into BYU Pathway Worldwide, complete the funnel.
And then go get jobs.
And they'll get jobs.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, and they'll get jobs. So.
Brandon Luke of BYU Pathway Worldwide is on the Wise Guys, broadcasting live around the world on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. So good to have you here. When we were talking earlier, I thought of during my days in Vegas covering boxing, and fighters would come in, and Julio Cesar Chavez was the #1 Mexican fighter who spoke English right up until we did our interviews. And then he clipped back through an interpreter because he didn't want his fans to see that he had sacrificed his heritage by learning English. And he's fighting Oscar De La Hoya, who did just the opposite. And Oscar De La Hoya made millions of dollars more than Julio because of the opportunities that came by learning a second language, by knowing English. And I know one thing that you teach in English Connect is you don't have to surrender your heritage, and you don't have to join the church, but this program can open your world to opportunities that you wouldn't ordinarily get.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so as you have those opportunities in your life and as you kind of open them up and can walk through them, the amazing thing that happens is really their confidence that gets built. I think you see this with sports all the time, right? So you take somebody who is a little bit uncertain on the field, who just walks on or whatever it may be. I'm talking now about college. Those guys are pretty confident that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But you coach them up a little bit, teach them how to get into a defensive stance, teach them how to dribble. And when they see a shot go in and all those things
like Ziggy Ansah, who didn't even know how to put on a uniform.
He didn't know where the thigh pads went in the pants.
Yeah. So. And then they begin to change their vision. I mean, did he think that he was going to be an NFL player when he got here?
I think he thought he was going to run track, isn't it?
Yeah. And so that confidence that get built up, that's the thing that's most exciting as you kind of begin to open up this one door. Then you're like, holy cow, there's a ton of other doors after that. Yeah. That English learning will provide.
Where can people go to sign up for English classes? And also, where can people go to sign up to teach classes and to give their time to become BYU Pathway missionaries?
Yeah, so if you're interested in participating in English Connect 1 or 2, the thing to do is to either talk to your ward or stake president or your bishop or your lead site president, some kind of ward leader. They can help you get set up to be able to offer a class in your ward or stake. If you want information about how to offer those 1 and 2 classes, open up your Gospel Library app. Mm-hmm. Inside there's a section called Life Help. You open up Life Help, and there's a section called English Learning, and there's a little implementation guide that can help guide you through that entire process. If you want to join English Connect 3, then you just go through the normal process about how to submit an application to be a missionary through BYU Pathway Worldwide.
Now, there are 260 million people in the world who speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
And BYU Pathway Worldwide also starting to offer classes to help someone improve their Portuguese.
That's right.
That's crazy. How does that work?
Yeah, so the Portuguese program just launched last year, and maybe sometime you'll have to bring in some of our Portuguese people, that are running that program.
And they can speak Portuguese, and Blaine and I'll look at them and go, okay.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I speak English and German. I want to learn how to speak Spanish.
Like maybe that'll be Spanish Connect.
Spanish
maybe that's
Connect,
down the
next
road.
one, I'm up for taking that class.
Yeah. So. Well, maybe someday. I've actually heard that a lot, and so if you keep pushing it, maybe someday it'll happen. So
I got to use my German. I was calling the women's game last week, and a lot of Rokel is from Germany, and I said to her, if you have to do something really, really special. If you do something really special, I'm going to bust out into German. And she said, oh, my parents would love that. They're going to be watching the game in Germany. They would love that. I'm like, have to do something special. She played lights out in the first half. Like, she was so good. So I go, das war unglaublich, which means that was unbelievable. And then Spencer Linton looked at me like, what in the heck was that? And I go, Spencer, I just broke out in tongues. Lotta's playing so well. I spoke German. And he goes, do you speak German? I go, no.
But you did tonight.
But she was so good, So anyhow, after the game, she said, "Oh, I can't. That's so awesome. My parents will love that. Language brings people together,
It really does.
And it keeps people apart, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you don't know it.
Yeah.
And English Connect, much like BYU Pathway and helping people get educated to improve their own life, that barrier, maybe the first barrier is I can't even explain to you what I want to do.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah. And I love the story that you shared too, where you're able to pull that out and bust it out and made such a connection there between those two families and things. And that's, one of the things we talked about too with English Cadet is the opportunity to be able to help people to serve other people, right? The more languages you know, even some intro things makes a big difference. I was on that same trip to Brazil. I don't speak Portuguese. My kids actually are learning Portuguese at our elementary school.
Oh, wow.
And I tried to learn some Spanish, and then I tried to learn a little bit of Portuguese with them, and then it just turned into something really bad. But while I was there, I'm like, I got to try and do something. So whenever I'm in a country, I'm always just like, forget about it. I know I'm going to look dumb. I know it's going to be really silly, but I'm just going to go for it. And so we had to do a devotional one night. And as part of that devotional, I'm like, I'm just going to write it out in Portuguese. And then I just sat down with ChatGPT, saying it out loud to it and having it coach me. And, I said it and they said, oh, we understood most of what you said.
That's great though.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
A good experience. And they, just the light up that happened, right? Just people as I started speaking Portuguese, they just lit up and, they leaned forward in their seats and it wasn't the interpreter talking to them. It was directly with them. And that was really special.
That's awesome. Update from the Marriott Center. BYU beating Missouri 42-22 with 2:23 left in the second quarter. If the Cougars can hang on and win this one, they'll host Stanford in the third round of the WBIT on Thursday at the Marriott Center. Here's 5 questions for Brandon, presented by Strategy Square. Let Chantel help your business grow through social media. Contact her today at strategysquare.co. We got 5 rapid-fire questions. Blaine's going to
You ready?
come at you with them.
Yeah.
We're going to start with your favorite sports movie.
Remember the Titans.
Easy.
It's classic.
The music's almost as good as the story.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It is a classic. So your favorite singer or band?
I like more chill vibes. I'm going to say Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
Why did I think, is Jack Johnson's not from Hawaii, is he?
He is, yeah.
Oh, he is. That's why he's so chill. That explains it.
Yeah.
Just chill.
Okay. Your favorite breakfast cereal?
Let's go with Reese's Puffs. That's a shout out to my son who literally survives off Reese's Puffs. If Reese's Puffs didn't exist, I don't think we would have he would have made it to the 6th birthday.
Is that our first Reese's Puffs in 4 years? For
I don't know.
cereal? It might be.
All I know is Kellogg's has kept me alive for 58, so it happens.
Do you put sugar on it, or is it just straight Kellogg's?
Well, like Fruit Loops and that stuff comes company made, right, with sugar on it. So
You don't do like Kellogg's Corn
like
Flakes.
Corn Flakes
Flakes is what I was
would
thinking.
require sugar.
That would require like 4
That would-
teaspoons of sugar.
almost to
Corn
make
Flakes.
it my own version of Frosted Flakes. Is how much that would
He
take.
does self-made Frosted Flakes. He feels like it's healthier, right?
That's right.
Feels right.
What's your favorite BYU memory?
Let's see. I'd probably go with my wife and I were at a Jimmer Fredette game, and it wasn't the one where he jumped on the table. That would have been really epic.
That was San Diego State, I think, but yeah.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I remember we were watching the game together. I think we only had one kid at the time, and just watched him drill the logo 3. It's really, really great.
Oh, yeah.
The place goes bananas.
Yeah,
The energy
it was
is just
fun. Yeah.
So fun. That was a great time. Okay, now we'll end with your favorite thing about BYU Pathway.
I am like a BYU Pathway evangelist. This is really tough. Like when BYU Pathway came out, I was like, oh man, Pam, I want to work there. I was working here at BYU Provo, and it's great. Continuing Education. A shout out to my friends at Continuing Education. I loved it there, but BYU Pathway is great. The thing I love most about it has got to be the students. I mean, when you talk to them and hear their stories and hear what they're going through, big and small things, and just seeing the miracles of how God is helping them in their lives, it's transformative. So.
We've had several of them here in studio or on via Zoom, and the stories are amazing.
Yeah,
they're game changers, right? And that's what the whole program's designed to do is give folks opportunities to improve themselves. And I think President Ashton described it when he was sitting right in that chair a few months ago, as people improve themselves, they see that they can do more, they can be more. And often that also has a spiritual connection of you are more than you might think. And education seems to be the door to all that.
Yeah, they can see who they really are, right?
Yeah.
As divine children of God. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Hey, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, I have to tell you a quick joke real quick.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Okay, it's not really a joke. It's a funny story, though. Okay, so when my son, who's 12 years old, he's a big BYU fan, heard I was coming on a sports BYU podcast.
Right.
Do you know what he said to me?
What do you say?
He said, Dad, that would be cool if you were talking about sports, but you're going to talk about BYU Pathway. So,
but tell him you talked about
sports in.
Jimmer.
a little bit.
We talked about Jimmer. You talked about Taysom Hill's leap at Texas.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hey, I was at a meeting down in Austin, and we were holding the lunch at the club room at Texas Stadium. Right? Is it Darrell Royal Stadium? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So we walked in one end and we walked down the field. And I was walking next to another business guy that played Texas baseball. Like he played for the University of Texas baseball, huge Texas fan. So we got down toward the end of the field. He goes, walk over here with me. I want to show you something that happened. And we walk over to the side and he goes, I'll never forget I was in the stadium when Taysom Hill hurdled over the dude right here and just crushed all of our dreams. And so I stood at that spot and I said, wait a minute, will you take a picture of me right here?
Like, do you mind laying down and let me jump over you?
I tweeted it out. I'm like, yep, I'm standing right on the spot where Texas got humiliated by Taysom.
Yeah.
But he goes, nobody will forget that moment in the stadium. Nobody will forget Taysom Hill for the rest of their lives that were here that day.
Wow.
So
We were about 10 yards from that lead.
Dave and I were doing the sideline show from that game, and oh my goodness.
Yeah. What's the name of your son?
Peter.
Peter, your dad did great. And the next time he's on the show, we invite you to come on the show as well, and we will talk sports.
Hey, and your dad knows sports. Don't forget that. He
Your dad
knows sports. So,
Brandon, thank you.
Thank you
Brandon.
both. You guys have been
Appreciate
great.
you. Brandon, Luke, and we invite you to learn more at BYU Pathway Worldwide and English Connect at byupathway.edu. Great stuff. It's a phenomenal program, and we are so happy to be wrapped around it with Wise Guys and BYU Pathway Worldwide. And each month, as you've noticed, someone has come on and educates us on how the thing goes and works and the blessings of it and the lives that get changed from it. And at Wise Guys, we're just happy to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
Because it's an awesome story.
and the Pathway Worldwide is a game-changing story for people all over the world. So,
Hey, as you know, we have a partnership with Cougar Tribe. We're going to talk about that for a moment. Cougar Tribe's an online home for BYU sports fans who love the game, love connections more than just Monday night, but throughout the weekend and all the time. And so each week we ask for folks to send us questions that we then, after our live portion of Wise Guys, we'll then record our Q&A, and then those are on Cougar Tribe.
right.
And so we have winners today. We chose 5 questions. We're going to tell you whose question we're going to answer. We won't answer the question now. You got to go to Cougar Tribe for that.
Right.
But each gets 1,000 Cougar coins for having their question chosen. So those 5 are listening right now.
And you can buy stuff at Cougar Tribe.
buy stuff with your coins.
With your Cougar coins.
So who are the
BYU
winners?
So this week's winners are Stu Boy,
All right.
Shauna T, Ryan H, Naoma R, and Linda O.
Those 5 just got 1,000 Cougar coins.
That's right. And if you haven't signed up to become a Cougar Tribe member yet, you can do so by going to cougartribe.com. It's simple to do. It's free. It'll connect you with this inside community where we keep in touch all week long. We get to do what we're doing tonight with one another and kind of banter with one another, and we talk about topics all week long.
Halftime at the Marriott Center, it's 48-27. BYU leading Missouri out of the SEC, and the Cougars are rolling. Delaney Gibb has 16 points. Here's the thing about basketball and different nights. So I watched the game the other night you were calling, and Sydney Benali couldn't miss.
Oh, yeah.
From 3. And so far tonight, she's 0 for 5 from 3. Same basket, same floor. It's just sports, right? Some nights they go in, and some nights they don't. But that's why you have a
team, because somebody else is knocking them down tonight, right?
And Liv Hamlin has 11 points for BYU as they are rolling at halftime. But isn't that interesting? Rob Wright on some nights has been unstoppable. And on other nights, a 2-footer just won't go in.
Yeah.
You know, we get sped up. Things happen.
And that's why depth is so important, because you have to have more than one guy that can do it. Because if you're built on 1 or 2 guys,
and they're doing that,
and they're having an off night, you got problems. When they're both on, you can beat Iowa State, right?
Or Texas Tech.
When they're not,
or Clemson,
and there's not somebody to pick up the slack, then you got problems. And so that's what BYU is going to work on in this offseason, to get more depth. This BYU women's team's got nice depth this year, and multiple people that can score. So Sydney's, I bet she's distributing the basketball. Liv's picking it up and knocking down shots, and Delaney's playing well. Rokel's playing. Like, they have so much depth. They got good bench support too. So
I was watching UConn last night, and they pulled away from UCLA late. But then I was thinking about the BYU UConn game when BYU was healthy and deep. Even though Kaba got knocked out early in that game, and then didn't play the rest of the way. And Kennard Davis, I'm not sure where we were at on his situation. I don't think he played.
But you had Richie and AJ and Rob all
healthy. And they got
healthy.
down behind, but then they came back, and that same UConn team that beat UCLA beat BYU by 2 points at the Tea Garden Center in Boston. I'm like, that's how close you are from winning to losing in this game and in sports. And every team that is in the Sweet 16, almost every one of them has some kind of a BYU played last year or BYU played this year, and they went toe-to-toe with them. So I mean, all is not lost after they lost.
Right.
And so we look forward to the rebuild. All right. On this day, on March 23rd, can you believe we have one more show and then we're in April?
I don't know where the months go. They just fly by.
So. We can't stop them.
Yeah. But on this day, March 23rd in 1775.
This is big.
Patrick Henry said the famous words, "Give me liberty or give me death," as he encouraged Virginia troops to join the Revolutionary War.
That went down on this day.
Yep.
In 1868 on this day, California University is founded.
And now it's like the
Golden Bears
system of, wow. So, Cal, you're talking about the Cal Bears.
Yeah.
I thought you thought the university system was founded in there. Yeah.
California.
1903, the Wright brothers, they filed the first patent for what they called a flying machine.
That worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, it worked out just fine.
1933 on this day, Germany passes the Enabling Act, which empowered Hitler to become a dictator. All that happened after that, today on 1933 is when he got his power.
Wow. In 1977, Elvis begins his final concert tour. 1977.
How about 1987 on this day? The Bold and the Beautiful debuts on CBS.
Wow. How about 1994? Wayne Gretzky, the great one, sets the NHL record with 802 career goals.
He was phenomenal. March 23rd, birthdays. 1944, Rick Ocasek, lead singer of the Cars.
Let the good times roll.
He was much older than people thought when they were rolling.
Yeah. And they had a very unique sound. They were big time. 1955, Moses Malone was born on this day. 1973,
Jason Kidd.
1992, Kyrie Irving. It's kind of a basketball theme
like
there.
a basketball day.
Yeah.
March 23rd, deaths. In 1983, Barney Clark died on this day. He was the first recipient of an artificial heart here in Utah. Lived 112 days after the surgery. He was the pioneer of what they now do.
Right. And the ability to do like the heart-lung machine that can take you off while they fix your heart and do like, it's 1983.
He was the first one.
Right here in Utah. 2011, on this day, Elizabeth Taylor passed away.
2025, Mia Love, Utah politician, the first black Republican ever elected to Congress. Got to know her over the years, and fantastic person. We also want to acknowledge recent passings of former BYU baseball pitcher and coach Bobby Knoll and former basketball player Shane Knight.
Yeah, Knoll pitched BYU's last perfect game in 1961.
How about that?
That's a legacy that'll last forever, probably. And then Shane played for the Cougs between 91 and 95, and was a big contributor to those great teams. We send our prayers to their families.
Our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week is from Al McGuire, the late basketball coach at Marquette, who said,
"You got to wear the blue blazer when you go to the big dance."
So McGuire told a reporter in 1977 that he had worn a bright blue blazer during the season and committed to keep wearing it in the NCAA tournament. His Marquette team went on to win the championship. I remember watching that game. I was 10. I remember watching it on TV. From that point on, after he won the championship, the NCAA tournament was lauded as
the big dance. He coined that term, when you go to the big dance.
You got to wear the blue blazer when you go to the big dance.
So, hey, we appreciate Harvey Scott of Redmond, Relight, Travis Kimball of Quick Quack, and Brandon Luke of BYU Pathway Worldwide. All BYU guys doing amazing things. Thanks to them for coming on the show tonight.
Shout out to Andy Reid, former Cougar and current Chiefs head coach, will join the Tabernacle Choir as a guest narrator for a special broadcast of music and the spoken word. That performance will be Sunday, July 5th, a day after Stadium of Fire. It'll highlight the 250th anniversary of the United States. He just had a birthday this last week, and I was thinking, I shot him a text, happy birthday, and I didn't expect to hear back. I was thinking, thanks, Dave, because that's what Andy Reid does.
He's awesome.
But imagine his story as he came to BYU, not a member of the predominant faith, joins the church, lives this life, and I would imagine his parents would be stunned to know that he's going to be the spokesperson for the Tabernacle Choir on Sunday, July 5th.
Man,
How about that?
We should get him involved in the Stadium of Fire.
We need to talk to him before that.
Yeah,
so you call him.
I'll call him, see if he can come on before that, because that'll be really cool.
So good.
They're going to be in town for the Stadium Fire. They were just here for Patty's funeral, and I got a chance to visit with Andy. Just had his knee replaced, by the way, and he looks fantastic. Andy has lost a lot of weight, and now he's going to get that broken wheel fixed. He's just got that broken wheel fixed, and he's going to be good as new.
Yeah, and then he's going to get his quarterback back healthy, and they're going to roll again.
They're going to go roll and make another run.
They just signed Kelsey for 3 more years today.
Yeah, I think they're all ready to try to make another run this next year, and Andy looks great, and Tammy's a sweetheart too, good friend of Brenda's. So, we wish them the best, and we'll get them on before that. That'll be fun. So
Robert on the stream says, when I first heard about BYU Pathway last year, I was so impressed with their mission that I went to the website and found out how to donate, and I've been doing so ever since.
That's awesome.
Nice job, Robert.
And we said if Sydney's not hitting, then Delaney and Liv have to hit. Delaney has 16 at half.
Yeah.
She's been on a tear in recent weeks. So
next week, AJ Dybantsa, AJ's dad, and Alan Akina Kihei's dad are going to join us to talk about their upcoming mega golf event that their boys are headlining. Also, special teams coach Justin Enna is going to be here. All he's got to do is find a punter, a kicker, a holder, and a snapper in the spring. So
Wild.
We'll have him sit down right next to you, and we'll find out how that's going.
Hey, Will was knocking down. Will Farron was knocking down 62-yarders down the pipe for the pro scouts the other day.
I hope he can play at the next level.
He's kicking it really. Well, how about that show though? Got AJ Dybantsa and Alan Akina on, and then Justin Enna is going to come on.
Might be our best show ever.
Could be really, really fun. And thanks, Sylvia. I might take you up on that. Sylvia says she can teach me Spanish.
Okay.
I want to learn Spanish.
We should do it live on the show, one of these shows.
Just teach me a couple things on the show. We'll bring Sylvia on. She can teach me some Spanish phrases.
We'll all be better for it.
You want to zoom in with us one week, Sylvia, and teach me just a few good Spanish lines? I think we should do that. That'd be fun.
That would be, we haven't been live in Wisconsin. This would bring us there. So, okay. Sylvia, think about that.
Figure that out. Think about that, Sylvia, if you want to do that. So,
all right, where you can find us this week, I've got the BYU Oklahoma State series with Gary Thursday, Friday at 6, and Saturday at 1 on ESPN Plus, and then in the Deseret News periodically.
I was all over the place last week with Pro Day and the basketball game. Laying low. But I'm going to go, as we were going through the schedule, if you're out and about, you're going to see me this week because I'm going to spend Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Just Roman campus.
Roman and supporting all of these BYU sports. We'll probably go to the volleyball game Saturday night. I think we will go to, on Thursday night, we're going to go to the women's basketball game. I think we're going to go to women's tennis and men's tennis on Thursday afternoon. Haven't figured out Friday yet, but there's a bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So if you get out to stuff, make sure you come up and say hi to me out watching games this week.
You know what else is this week? Major League Baseball. Opening day, Thursday, Cubs play the Nationals. That's how it's going at Wrigley Field.
There you go. So
and here's the thing about baseball. We love it and love the Cubs. Some people like other teams. But baseball starts, and just right after the All-Star break, fall camp starts for football. Mm-hmm. And then the games are here before baseball ends.
Just gets going.
It's the connector of all connectors.
So,
and it'll get us through a lot of boring summer days.
I try to get to a cool ballpark. I'm trying to think of what new one I should go to.
Just go to Wrigley Field. You should just go right back there.
I've been to Wrigley multiple times, and I loved it. And I love Fenway. I'll likely get to Yankee Stadium this year. We'll be back watching Libs, and we'll go to Yankee
you should.
Game, so
you owe it to yourself.
Yeah, we will do that. So, hey, wise guys, we want to remind you it's presented by Brady Plus. Supplies plus support. Find out more at bradyplus.com.
And by Mountain America Credit Union, empowering dreams for over 80 years. Find out what they can do for you at macu.com, MACU.com.
Our Relight Athlete of the Week, presented by Redmond. The secret is in the salt. Learn what it can do for you at Redmond.com. This week's Relight Athlete of the Week, AJ Dybantsa.
And man, didn't he deserve it?
Yes, he did.
The man who almost beat Texas by himself. Wouldn't that have been a story?
Yeah.
Wise Guys is distributed by our friends at the Deseret News. I've even got my Deseret News shirt on today. And we appreciate these folks over our shoulder and the folks over Blaine's shoulder, and of course BYU Pathway for all their support. Quick Quack Car Wash. We are live in San Diego. We did our first live remote tonight.
Yeah, he was our first live reporter. You know, we sent it out to him.
Yeah, it felt
I just
like
look.
that.
I didn't even know what shirt I had on.
You
You
had a
said
volleyball shirt.
This
right?
is BYU Cougs and had the
cheer on Sean Olmstead this week and become the winningest coach.
I think Sean gave me this shirt. Yeah. So
winningest coach in BYU history is 2 wins away. He's got Pepperdine Friday and Saturday.
There you go.
Those could be the days.
Go.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week for more Wise Guys.